sorry. Are you going to keep this moving?
Who got it for you?
Yes, I'm trying to.
Hey,
5 minutes
look,
behind schedule here already.
I collect these rascals.
Do you?
Yeah.
you on speaker, Angie.
Excellent.
Thank you, Ange.
Mr. Kleinpeter, are you ready? Madam Secretary, are you ready? Good evening, everyone. At this time, I'd like to call to order this August 20th, 2024 meeting to order. Would you please rise with me for the Pledge of Allegiance and moment of silence? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Madam Secretary, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Kostrevich?
Here.
Mr. Lister?
Here.
Ms. Lloyd? Here. Ms. Miller?
Here.
Ms. Reed?
Here.
Ms. Willenbecker?
Here.
Mr. Reddinger?
Here. Thank you. At this time, I'd like to report on our last executive session where we discussed personnel, matters, litigation, and real estate. No action was taken. At this time, we have a presentation. Hello, Hershey.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi. My name is Eileen Voiles. Is that good? Okay. I just wanted to introduce what I'm doing to Middletown Borough. My name is Eileen Voiles. I'm a real estate agent in the Berkshire Hathaway Hershey East office. I started a company called Hello Hershey PA Inc. It's a Pennsylvania benefit company to promote commerce and happy living in Hershey and beyond. I also write for the Hummelstown Sun and Harrisburg Magazine, matters about real estate, usually. Mother of 5, married 34 years. I'm a content creator online with videos about our community. And I've done some videos on some of the business owners in Middletown. Also a community volunteer. Okay, next one. Okay, so why am I here today? To tell you about a business model I'm working on. I'm working on a mobile phone application that will connect small local businesses to each other, connect these businesses to consumers, and reward consumers for shopping locally. And this kind of came about because in 2020 I started promoting local businesses and attractions through videos. Now I featured over 100, probably 150 at this point. I went to a business planning seminar also and realized as a real estate agent I needed to be sending mailers out. Most realtors do like market reports or calendars, and I thought that's a good idea, but I'd rather send stuff out for the local businesses. So I started partnering with them, and I would send out a special about the business that compliments of Eileen Voiles. And this worked out great, and I got really good feedback, and so I thought I should take this to the digital age and make this an app. And so that's what I'm working on. So I'm going to start with 30 local businesses, small local businesses, and show their profile and their specials on the app. It's going to have a local news component, and I'm going to partner with the area high schools and get their journalism students involved too so that they can have other opportunities to publish content. Use those on their resumes and job applications. I believe this will promote a good deal of community amongst the small business owners and promote them as business owners. I'm also going to list service opportunities, and through the whole thing, the consumers of the app are going to be rewarded through a point system. So they'll be able to go to an in-app store and get deals and specials and free things with the points that they've earned by going to local businesses. And that this kind of shows, go to business 1, 2, 3, get points, go to local business 4, maybe you never even went there before, but now you have points to use there, and so should be kind of nice. And it's just a big way to connect people, really, and to promote commerce in our area. So, and why will consumers want to download and use the app? To get discounts, to learn about local experiences, to get information and to connect with various volunteer opportunities. Why would a business want to be part of the app? It's an effective and cost-efficient way to connect with residents and visitors of the area, to be able to work as a team with other business owners, to benefit from technology buying, because there will be technology aspects of this app that will be beneficial to them. And also for reporting, we'll have a lot of data from consumers that should be really helpful to these business owners. So, is that it? Oh, yes. Okay. And so my hope today is that you guys are interested in, helping the small business owners in the Middletown Borough, and that you think this is a decent idea. And I'm applying for a local youth gaming grant for this because it is a community building situation, and I was hoping the Hummelstown Borough would be willing to just write a letter of support type of thing for this. And I know I don't need an answer on that right now, but I wanted you to know who I am and what I'm trying to do. I'm applying over the next month, so you guys can talk about it and see if it sounds like something that you think is good.
Excellent. Does any councilors have any questions on the app?
Only that, would you be approaching Middletown small businesses as part of
Yeah,
your building?
yes,
So
thank
it
you.
says Hello Hershey.
Yeah, that's not going to be the name of the app. That's just the company that I started, and I do social media and stuff for Hello Hershey. The app is actually going to be called Yokel. YOKL, like local yokel, say yes to local, that kind of thing. And so, I mean, I don't really want to get in the nuts and bolts of how that'll all work, and you don't probably want to hear it. But yeah, and that's why, in speaking with other people around Dauphin County, that's what they said too, like, Hello Hershey, that doesn't really work for us. It's not Hello Hershey. That's what I'm doing in the Hershey-Hummelstown area. My plan actually is to have other people like me producing content and, posting videos, having podcasts in their specific local area, like Love in Lingelstown or How Do You Do Harrisburg, or, whatever. I'm Hello Hershey. Maybe there's a Meet Me in Middletown where there's somebody who is creating content and interviewing business owners and that kind of thing. But the app itself is just one app. So if there were somebody in Middletown specifically doing content and promoting Middletown, we get people on the app. There's no boundaries or barriers between Hershey or Middletown. A consumer comes to Middletown and goes to Tony's Pizza. Well, then they go to JoJo's Pizza in Hummelstown. It's all in the app. It's all the same system. That kind of thing.
Yes.
Do you like it?
Yes, it's a great idea, but to your final question of us about a letter of support for your gaming grant, I think we should sort of wrap that question up for you right now instead of it lingering.
Sure.
Yeah, so the council's been approached by several other entities, one of which being Seven Star School District. We're currently sponsoring some of our own, along with the fire department. So because we're sponsoring some of our own applications in-house, we're not at this time sponsoring any other outside applications.
Okay. Okay.
And we've given that same response to about 4 or 5 other entities.
Yeah, sure. Now, to be clear, I have the letter of co-application from Lower Paxton Township and also from Conawaga. So I'm not looking for, as a non-municipality, I have to have a municipality co-apply with me. I already have that. I was just looking for like hey, we know Eileen Voiles, we know about the plan, we think it could be good for our borough. If that's anything different to you, but
No, well, thank you for the information and
Yeah. It's a great idea. We've got some great businesses in Middletown, some long established and 3 recent openings. So yeah.
Good.
I have a question.
Councilor
I have
Miller.
a question.
Yes,
Have you
ma'am.
been in touch with our local business association?
I have not, and no.
You should.
Yeah, I should. So there's a Middletown Business Professionals Association.
Middletown
Business
Business
Association.
Association.
Yeah, I will definitely reach out to them. I know Hummelstown has one. Hershey has like the partnership and I did go to the lower Paxton has a East Shore Business Association. So, okay, yeah, thank you. I'll check out the Hummelstown or the
Middle.
Middletown.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
At this time, do I have any public comment on agenda items? Seeing no public comment, agenda item number 1.
Do I have a motion to approve council meeting minutes for the August 7th, 2024 meeting as submitted?
So moved. Second.
Moved by Councilor Kluskevich, second by Councilor Lister. Any questions or comments? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Agenda item number 2.
Do I have a motion to approve payment of bills as shown on the accounts payable list dated August 13th, 2024, which is for the period of August 1st, 2024 through August 13th, 2024, and to ratify the approval of such bills already paid and to authorize the appropriate officials to take required actions to make those payments?
So moved.
Moved by Councilor Kluskevich, second by Councilor Lister. Any questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
You're whooping my behind.
Opposed? Motion carries. Agenda item number 3.
Okay, in your packet is a special request from Fountain of Life Ministries, who is looking to hold a family fun fest at Hoffer Park on Saturday, August 24th. I believe this is this Saturday, from 5 to 8 p.m. And because the request came in at a late time frame here, we put it on the agenda to see if you were willing to approve that at tonight's meeting. So I'll read the motion. Do I have a motion to approve the special event request from Fountain of Life to use Hoffer Park August 24th, 2024 from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. for Family Fun Fest?
So moved. Second.
Moved by Councilor Reed, second by Councilor Lister. Any questions or comments on the festival?
I wonder if going forward, we might have attached to the application the certificate of liability insurance. The application says it may be required identifying, but isn't that our practice? So I wouldn't mind seeing that from the organizations that we're granting our park to.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, I don't see it attached to you. Grace, you don't know that we received that, do you?
Although I got another application saying the same thing
Okay.
in my box this morning, so maybe
This happened to be one that,
It sounds so last minute, I know.
I think this is the one the organization rented a pavilion.
They rented
And
a pavilion.
then I think they showed up at the police department to ask for if there's any sort of permits needed to do some, was it giveaways they're going to do? And they wanted to go around town and solicit about
They
the
stopped
event.
at the police department because they were informed they need solicitation permits to hand out flyers. No cost to religious organizations, but they're planning on handing out some flyers, so, and when I said, can I see your flyer? I'm like, you need a permit for this, so sent them up to see Grace. So I don't think they expect there to be 10 or 15 people there. They're handing out flyers. So, and
Right.
there's like giveaways that I think Flyer talked about pay your bills. They're planning on gifting people into coming down and hearing what they have to say. So,
So the original getting on the books, basically for rental pavilion, it was not known that a promotion was going to go on, so to speak.
You know,
know,
that was going to be my second comment. There isn't a whole lot of detail to their application, is there? Family Fun Fest at Huffer Park. Again, maybe
Well,
next
you'll have
time we could encourage more detail or,
Well, there's a flyer that was, that came with, the special event request. I don't see it in here.
It's on the back of the page.
On the very back, it's not on the back of mine.
Oh, on back
Oh,
of what
okay.
page?
Turn the page,
Here's the flyer.
the special request, there it is.
Oh, there it is.
And as you'll see, there are giving things away.
Yes, they're paying bills.
Oh, smart
So
TV.
when the public safety director saw that what they were asking and what they were doing, going to go door to door, handing out these flyers, he called us the beginning of the week and said, hey, you know, there's a possibility there could be a lot of people down there. It's not just,
I hear you.
you know, a youth group or something from the church using the pavilion, as they're inviting the public.
Well, it's a public place.
Well, yeah, but a smart TV?
But a public event becomes a special event. That's when Director Wright
That's
said,
what
look, you
Dan-
have to put in a request for this.
Yeah, and that really does trigger our need for the insurance.
Yeah.
It's very different if it was Cub Pack, whatever, you know,
Yeah.
self-contained little thing, but when it is an event,
Right.
sort of
That
being
they're
marketed to the
inviting
It's
public.
gonna draw a lot of people.
Yeah, I
with
mean, we
with-
need to
with
have that
some of the
insurance,
giveaways that they're, you know,
certificate.
giving away a kid's bike. I mean, come on, what do you think? Everybody and his brother will bring their kid down there just to get a bike.
Can we approve it on condition that they get the insurance
Yeah,
to
absolutely.
use in 2 days, 3 days?
Do you, can we amend the motion on contingency on,
Yeah?
everybody okay with that?
Yep.
All right.
Yep.
I have a motion, a second on the floor. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor? Aye. Oppose? Motion carries. Agenda item number 4.
Okay, that would be my report. We have, I received the information right before the meeting that the Borough of Royalton is planning to hold their trick-or-treat night on October 31st, which is the 5th Thursday of the month of October. And back at the beginning of the year, we approved the 4th Thursday of October, as we always do, but this year there happens to be a 5th October. So Royalton is seeking our consideration for changing our trick-or-treat to their date, which is the 31st, since we are in close proximity to each other. So if you were interested in discussing that, changing that, we could put that on the agenda for next month for a vote. You don't have to vote tonight, but if you want to talk about it, give your thoughts. Mr. Long from the Borough of Royalton is in the audience tonight to hear what we have to say about that.
Is my understanding that Royalton has already adopted this date, correct?
No, we were waiting on you.
Okay.
Oh,
We actually don't wanna make it, we don't wanna be opposite of you guys, so whatever,
right.
we wanna stay on the same level playing field, cause we're scared if we have ours the 31st, you have yours the 24th, well, we know what's gonna happen there.
And that's why we need to,
We're just
yeah.
hoping that, since it does fall on Halloween this year, and I know you adopted this back in December 19th of last year, so you probably didn't even notice that it was on.
It's just our
The
practice,
Thursday
the
is
fourth
the 31st.
Thursday, yeah.
Yeah,
So we're just hoping that it can all be the same, that way we can just all be on the same page.
I have no objection to it. I don't think it's a,
Lois Adair is actually the same, so
I-
you're actually, because I called Lois Adair just to make sure I wasn't kind of stepping out of line being Roten, but they're actually the 31st too.
Oh,
We're the odd dog out on Halloween this year,
Really?
yes.
Well, let's not be the odd dog out. Yeah, I'm on board with that. I'm on board.
I have no Solicitor, Mr. Solicitor, can we vote on this tonight, or do we need to put it on the agenda?
I'd put it on the agenda for the next
What
meeting.
do you think, Lou?
I don't care. I'm good. I'm good. I'm gonna be working. I really don't
Yeah,
care.
you don't care.
I don't know if you're
but
gonna dress
it
up.
does make sense
You're
for
good?
exactly
I'm
the
good.
reason Chris said. We don't want swamping of the towns from,
Okay.
yeah. It's smart.
Yeah, so, we're gonna put it on the agenda, but I think you have the, you know,
We don't meet again until after you meet again, so.
So we're gonna have it the
Okay.
first of
we're gonna put it on the agenda, vote on, but I don't see why it wouldn't pass.
September. Okay.
It's, the first meeting is September. I don't
First
know what the
meeting.
date
That's
is.
what I
First
mean.
meeting in September, yes.
Yeah.
Okay, item number 3 I have on there, on my report, is another special request. This one was from Shining Light. and they're asking to do a fundraising event with games and food trucks at the parking lot at Huffer Park on Sunday, October 27th. They'd be setting up in the morning. The event would be in the afternoon, and they would have the area cleaned up before dusk. The reason for their event is they're looking to raise funds for 2 families in the borough who are struggling with MS. Anybody interested in putting that on the agenda or any discussion?
Yeah, I think it's a great idea. Let's please reach out to them about their COI as well.
Item number 4, another special event request. This one's from the Hetrick Center. However, they're asking for permission to have food trucks on their own parking lot. But they wanted to fill it out because it'll be some overflow parking for people who attend on the streets there for that day. They're looking to do this on October 26th from 10:30 to 5:30.
Sounds good.
And item number 5, we have an application for a handicapped parking space that was received for 251 North Spring Street. Codes has reviewed the application and recommends that we approve the space. So if there's no objections, we'll add that to our September agenda as well.
Good.
Item number 6, Woodland Hills is prepared, or they're ready to dedicate the streets to the borough and the water and sewer utilities. There are several ordinances attached in your packet that would need to be advertised in order before we can accept them. In addition, HD Partners is asking for a partial release of their mortgage as they have provided title insurance commitment and a policy for the borough. We're waiting for the originals of the ready-to-record deed and executed bill of sale, and we should have that before our September meeting. No?
Josh Sheets asked it not be put on that agenda because the contractor has things to do before they can,
Okay, so we'll be reporting back at the next workshop then.
Yeah, so some of those other things that are in the street, we should hold those. So if they're, have we already advertised? We haven't advertised yet for some of these ordinances to like accept pipes and things that are in the street, or are those not in the street?
We haven't advertised anything.
Okay.
Is this the sewer and
This is water, sewer, new water, sewer lines and
Water,
Woodland
sewer,
Hills.
stop signs.
Yeah.
we could give it okay to advertise the ordinance, I guess, but we wouldn't want to accept it until we've done everything.
I'm sorry, did we advertise it?
We didn't
Okay,
advertise.
yeah.
All right.
But we could vote on that advertisement in September, or
Right.
we want to just
I
wait
was gonna
until-
say, we should make sure we have the engineer signed off
before we
on
advertise.
any, now, if the pipes are not in the street, it did say pipes and easements, so I know physically where all these are, and the documents are fine. But, you know, we just shouldn't, and that starts, we also.
I
need
was,
to
I
make-
was under I was in the understanding, but Grace is correcting me, that everything was gonna be ready to go by the next meeting, but
Yeah, that's what
she's
I,
saying that.
yeah, I thought HRG was pretty well done with it.
Because what I heard, there's just some minor things that they're
Yeah.
looking to do yet, as far as painting crosswalks and things like that.
Well, we can table it to the next workshop.
Yeah.
But we'll do.
Not the end of the
Well,
meeting.
the other thing too is we'll need to make sure they're posting security, maintenance bonds. You know, when they dedicate a street to us, they need to post
I think it's all in the
security,
packet that
so.
Mattiak sent to you, I think.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it's been a couple months ago.
Yeah.
We looked at
Yeah,
all.
they had all the documents ready months ago, but
Yeah, in drafts.
Yeah.
I mean, they have to actually post real security
Mhm.
at the time of acceptance, not, you know, here's a draft of it.
Okay, we'll be back with this subject at next month.
Urban.
Sounds good. Looking forward to it.
Yeah. Okay, I know I sent you all an email. It's on my report there that I sent you the email with the 3 space study reports that were received from HRG over a period of months there, and I didn't know if anybody wanted to discuss them or get back on that topic where we want to move forward. There was some discussion at our last meeting, and I wanted to send out ahead of time for, you know, those proposals, so in case you had any questions. So if anybody has any questions, now's the time we could go over them, or if not, if you're looking to table it, want to think about it some more, why? let us know.
Well, I got an excuse why I didn't see it. My phone got stolen.
Next item?
No.
Okay.
Not the one that I was carrying tonight, but my other
Alright.
one. Okay.
There's some other informational items on there. I would say there is, one informational item that I could like to relay to you that isn't on my report, and that is, that the, steering committee for the master site parks plan, the area that now has the pool that, that we'll be working on, they met on June 19th. I have a set of minutes for anybody who would like to look at those because they have the results of the survey that was done, the park survey. Our next meeting's in September, and after that meeting, I believe HRG is preparing to come in and have a discussion with council as a whole to review where we are and explain the survey to you. But if you want to look at some of those graphs before then, why I have those minutes and I can share them with you.
Excuse me. Is that the one that I was at?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Anybody wants to have one? Well, you don't have to see me. Ellen, you might have one, but there's a print there if you want one.
I do.
Yeah. Do I have enough there, Ian?
Ken, I don't need
You
one.
don't need
I've got one.
I do want to thank the committee for all their hard work, because I know they have put countless hours in time into this. So,
Thank you.
I know we all look forward in the next couple meetings to hear from the committee and HRG. So.
Okay. That's all I have. I mean, like I say, you can, if you have some questions, you can call me about the report, but I don't want to get into it. I'd rather let HRG go through the survey with you and give you their.
I think that's best. Yeah, I think that's best. But thank you for getting this in front of us so we can familiarize ourselves with it in the interim. Agenda item number 5, codes.
Good evening. Looking at the report, we are at the average of 60 open violations. Our numbers went lower this month of July for 23 rental complaints and 37 property complaints. We are looking to continue to update certain ordinances, and our next one in the future will be lot consolidations for the borough. And I recommend that the UGI consultants be put on the agenda for September 3rd. They will be presenting to council, the solicitor, and HRG the history of the South Wood Street parcel 40-006-053. That was where the UGI excavation was being decontaminated.
Not now.
And they're going to give us their plans for the future of that property and the reasons for requesting a stormwater waiver on that parcel. They submitted their request for that waiver to council on July 10th of 2024. So they'll be there to present for that. Otherwise, we're all good. Any questions? Thank you.
No,
Thank
thank
you.
you. Agenda item number 6.
I have no action items. There were 2 outages for the month. One was loss of feed from First Energy, the other was a melted fuse link. Is there any questions on my monthly report? Thank you.
Oh, Greg, did you get any, maybe for councils, did you get any update from the contractor when he might roll in there on Oak Hill Drive for the substation?
Well, I thought it was going to be last week, and I have not heard it was supposed to be last week. I have not heard it.
So it could be any day now.
pardon me?
It could be any day then.
Yes, correct, and I think weather has a part to play in that, so, you know, storms can change people's.
I saw a tractor sitting out there, so
Yeah,
there's more stuff.
it's there, they're ready to start, cause they have to start meeting those deadlines.
Okay.
Hey, Greg, just a question. That pole I asked you about down by the sewage plant,
That's Med Ed pole,
that is metal.
correct, yes. Yep,
Are they gonna replace it?
probably not.
Is-
I mean, I'll say something to the guys when I see them, but they're not gonna replace, cause that's not, they have their poles tested too, and that's really just the scaling and how it widths on the pole.
There's
so-
nothing wrong with it?
I can't say that,
You can.
but they should,
I mean,
you
doesn't
know,
matter to me.
they have their pole inspections also. So you can have poles that look kind of odd like that, but still have the structural integrity
Okay,
that's required.
alright. I just got a little leery about it when I was walking by with the dog. I was like,
Yeah, no, I get it. There's some poles out there that would make one
kinda wonder.
wonder, and then you get an inspection report on it, and there's not really, it's fine.
Yeah, okay. Alright, thank you.
But-
But you guys are still doing a good job.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Before we do move on to the finance report, I just wanted to disclose, in regards to the Southwood Street project, I will recuse myself from any actions as my company has been asked to bid on the project by one of the contractors that's putting a bid in. And I've been in communication with the borough asking some technical questions. So, just disclosing it to everybody.
Alright.
Agenda item number 7, finance report.
Hello.
Hey,
There's a few items that I wanted to point out on my report. The first item is that, the fireworks account has, had an amount of $1,800 going into this year. We paid out $12,100 already for the actual fireworks this year, and the mayor has gotten $15,000 of donations. So we're back, to the green, the
Okay.
black.
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 thank you, Mayor. That's an important thing in town.
The other item is the 2025 MMO approval. This is normally what we do this time of the year. They should be in your packets. So I'd like to request a vote in the first meeting of September for approval for those numbers. I wanted to talk because I've gotten some questions from different council members about capital projects around parks. And we have been very fortunate with a lot of funding over the past 4 years. But all that funding has now been committed. So we don't have additional funding to do a work. So our options are basically, we are going out for grant funding, like we're doing on a number of different fronts, but most of those always have a match. So we have to, some of them are 50%, some of them are 10%. We never know until we apply for the grants. So we would have to have money available to do that match, even if we went for grants. The other option would be to actually budget those capital expenses into our budget. So going into 2025, if we wanted to put aside $25,000 for Fry Park, we would have to put that in our budget to expend in 2025. The other option, which I spoke to Ken about and I'd like to put before you, is I would actually like approval in the September meeting to work with Eckert Siemens to do a similar sinking fund that we've done for Public Works and for the MS4 for parks. Since we have this parks plan out there, it would be the 10% up to 50, but that would at least give us dollars for grant match money if we need it, out of pocket related to any parks that we don't want to take out of our budget, etc. So in September, I'd like approval for that if possible. The third item, or the fourth item actually, I talked to Dan, we received reimbursement monies from the state for the 3 cadets that we paid, $15,000 for their, what was it for?
It was $57.50 for their tuition.
Okay, so it's tuition reimbursement.
It was $57.50 for tuition reimbursement, and then a percentage of their, salary during the time they're in the academy. I think it's 75% of tuition and 20% of their salary, something along those lines.
So it totals almost $48,000. So I'd like to have council consider for vote in September of instead of what we would normally do is apply that against police department payroll, is to actually put it into the police sinking fund for future vehicles. Since that credit was not planned for 2024, if we could do that, that would be helpful to the department. So that would be another item I'd like you to consider in September.
Thank you.
Do you have any questions?
Thank you very much,
Great,
Sally.
thanks.
Thank you, Sally.
Agenda item number 8, Fire Department.
Good evening.
Good evening.
The gaming grant for the debt reduction was submitted. The articles that needed to be turned in, that was done. I had the meeting with with Eckerd Siemens for the pre-authorization meeting. So we're all good there, and I'm working on the final stages of just putting the grant together. Want to get with Sally to change up the documents a little bit as to the new way that they want it done to show the reduction. So that's underway there. Currently, the department ran just over 40 calls so far this month. We don't have all the papers in, all the reports in yet. During the remnants of Hurricane Debbie, the department responded to several water rescues in neighboring municipalities. Notably, we assisted other departments that issued Mayday calls during the high waters. Bainbridge, for instance, we went down, there were 4 paddle boarders that decided to go out on the water, at which point the Middletown department, we retrieved 2 of the individuals.
Excellent.
And made successful saves. Those 2 individuals from our department that made the saves will be getting letters of commendation and ribbons for on their department uniforms. I don't think I have anything else. We do have gun raffle tickets. We tried to post it, got taken down, but if anybody's interested in tickets, let me know.
How much?
Stop down. They are $10 a ticket and then 20 at the door for all you can eat.
So it's $30
Total.
Yeah. Give me 2.
All right, I got you.
Excellent, and thank you very much for all your hard work on that
Anything
debt
else?
reduction.
Yeah.
That's a lot of work. Thank you.
Chief.
Agenda item number 9, Highway Report.
Good evening, everybody.
Evening.
Couple of points of interest up there. We did have a fair amount of storm damage from those 2 storms that rolled through over the last 2 weeks. Got all those cleaned up, kind of set back our work at a Fry Manor a little bit. Need some touch up out there to go. I just have 2 items that would like to have you folks ponder. I had been asked by Ellen to look at revising the ordinance that relates to where associations are allowed to place advertising in the parks. And so I added those in here. There's a couple grammatical changes, changed the Homestead Rec Board to the Middletown Area Recreation Alliance, and added in here the quantity or the dollar amount for insurance for when people want to do something special. Just spells it out $1 million, and we have to be named as an additional insured. The other side of that, there were 2 places in the original ordinance where advertising could be. It could be the pool, or it could be at Oak Hills. Those are the only places it was allowed. So I was asked to look at removing the pool and adding Met Ed field. Those are the two places that MABA currently has banners, sponsorship.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense.
So pretty much I just took everything out that related to the pool, added Med Ed up on the upper one, and that's pretty straightforward for those.
More or less housekeeping of the ordinance.
And then the other thing that I had asked to be moved forward to September are the Woody Waste operational fees. They should be on the last page of my information. In looking at this, I recommend the fee be established at $30 for Middletown residential users. The other non-Middletown borough users would be maintained at $50 a year. I'd like to go with a policy of not having commercial because we don't currently have a source to get rid of our grindings. And I have a huge pile of them. So for that meeting, before the meeting, or if you want me to bring it up at the workshop, I will get Lori to print off and see who the largest users were. And then I had a request setting a limit of 15 uses per year. Most people should be able to clean up their yard in 15 trips.
Oh, yeah.
To the Woody Waste facility.
Would commercial users be classified as like other municipalities?
I think Lower Swadera brought us 12 trips last year.
12 like trailers or 12 triaxles?
Little dump trucks,
So is that considered a commercial user?
not the way our ordinance is written. It's an intermunicipal agreement with them that specifically has Royalton and Lower Swadera and ourselves in the agreement.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna ask you. You forgot Royalton.
They haven't participated.
Oh, they haven't?
They
Okay.
don't bring anything in, so.
Alright, I
as
just
far as
wondered why they weren't in there, so I was curious.
Yeah, we're probably sitting on 800 to 1,000 cubic yards of ground material currently, and I have nowhere to go with it. Eventually the pile's gonna dry out and we're gonna deal with fires out there, which we don't wanna do.
No.
So are other municipalities bringing stuff in free of charge?
Just Lower Swadera.
Just Lower Swadera.
I see in there that you're gonna put a $50 fee per drop off. That's
Yes.
that's the thought.
And that's the reason I wanna try and get this through now, is it'll have to be in their budget, it's only $500 or $600, but I'd like for them to have that for their budget time as well.
Oh, so we are charging Lois for there.
Planning.
Not yet, we will
Plans
be.
to.
Lower Swadera's gonna go to $50.
Old 150 per drop off. It's about Lower Swadera.
And they came in 12 times last year, so it's $600 or whatever it is.
How much commercial use do you think we get? Like,
A good
You
bit.
mean landscapers?
well, whatever that means. I guess that would.
Yeah, that would be landscapers.
So Matt, to Pat's point, once the commercial drop-offs stop and you figure out what to do with 1,000 cubic, is that going to smooth out the operation out there as you would want it?
I still think I'm gonna have trouble getting rid of the material. It will just be a lot less for us to process, which is expensive to process. And it will be less that we have on site. There's apparently a glut on the market of ground materials. Ziegler is not accepting any. That's where we would normally go. We would haul it down there for free. They're not accepting any right now, and they don't know when they will because they have huge mountains of it as well.
They also have huge amounts.
Yeah, unfortunately, it was a mandate put in place by the state, and they had no end solution for what the mandate would be generating.
So I want to clarify, if a resident, a Middletown resident, purchases a card, they get, what, 12, how many uses?
15.
15 uses. So if a resident purchases a card and they get 15 uses and they're elderly and they hire Joe Schmo Landscaping to remove some debris, they can give their card to Joe Schmo Landscaping to get rid of it?
That's probably something that we should work out in a policy.
Because, I mean, there is residents that, you know, elderly residents that,
I'm sure.
that still need to keep their properties maintained, but
Hmm.
don't
And I-
own a trailer.
I guess in that instance, the property owner could get a card and to then, provide it to the contractor while they're working on their property.
Yeah,
That's what I'm asking.
yeah, he's saying, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm clarifying. That's what I'm clarifying. You know, not every resident in
So there'd
Middletown
be a
has.
way of knowing it's a resident card, the way that the system is set up. It wouldn't,
Yeah, the gate does not differentiate, whether it's someone doing as Ian had suggested or not. It doesn't know the difference. It just knows a card and it knows who the card is assigned to.
I hear you.
So that would be the way for them to do that.
I just, you know, like, it's a
That
fair
makes
point.
sense.
And, you know, not every resident owns a truck, not every resident owns a trailer, and not every resident is physically able to, remove the debris. They may have to hire somebody to do it for them.
But wouldn't that contractor get rid of it as part of the cost that he's charging the residents? I mean, that should be included in his price.
I mean, I feel that's negotiated between the resident and the contractor. If a contractor comes to me and says, I can haul out that trailer for $50, or you could give me your card that you paid, you know, and you have 15 limits for, it now just becomes down to basic economics. I'm gonna say, well, here's my card. I paid for 15 trips. I got a dump truck, or I have a trailer's worth of stuff. Go take care of it. I mean, that's just basic economics. I wouldn't pay, you know, if they had to haul it 20 miles down the road for $100 when I got a card sitting at on my desk, I just give it to them.
Your question was like, would they be allowed to do that?
We wouldn't know the difference.
Gotcha. So yeah, no one stopped.
So it's almost a moot point anyways. So if a resident wants to buy a card and use it however they see fit, they have 15.
Yes.
How bad a shape is that grinder in? Do you have a tub grinder out there, or what do you have?
Horizontal grinder.
Okay.
It's in pretty good shape.
Is
We
it-
just had a significant amount of work done to it, and, yeah, the grinder will be out there for many years to come.
You had teeth in it, put in it, or what do you have out?
We had some steel fabricated on it. Scott's been working on it, replacing a bunch of bearings. There's some other work that needs to be done yet with the in-feed chain, excuse me.
In-feed.
But, yeah, it's in pretty good shape. There's a couple things that I'll see where the budget line item for the grinder is yet this year, and there's a couple little things we've been keeping our eye on. Radiator has a couple small pinhole leaks in it. So if we're good, you know, budget-wise, we can start getting some of that stuff replaced as well.
Matt, if I'm reading this correct, it still looks like we have a deficit.
If we go to the $30 or the $50, excuse me, 30, we have a little bit of a surplus of 4,600. I just put 25 a card on there also, just to show that there is a deficit. If 30 would break us even, 25 we still run a little bit of a deficit.
Okay, I see that. Okay, I see that there. Thank you.
Just a comparison so you can kind of see what the differences were.
I think those are fair numbers. You know, I'd pay $30 for a card. Yeah, thank you for your work on this.
This is in a lot better place there.
Mm-hmm.
Matt, can you touch on, I put on here, there were some residents that I was talking about them stormwater drains in the backyards on Hoffer Street.
Yes. The vendor that I sent it to, he contacted me today. It's going to go on their schedule, so he said as soon as possible. I would hope by next week.
I'm sorry, can you update? I'm not up to speed on this.
This is, there's a stormwater system that takes a few inlets on Hoffer and then goes into some rear yards between Hoffer and Few, and then dumps back out onto Few and then goes down to the creek. And there was a concern with the drains being slow to drain water and everything, so it was asked that they be checked out, so.
Yeah, for the record, I own a property on Hoffer Street that has one of these drains. This infrastructure, is it borough-owned or is it privately owned? Does the borough own any easements on this?
Not that I'm aware of.
Prescriptive easements.
I
Can,
was kinda checking into.
can you identify to me what a prescriptive?
Prescriptive easement is one that doesn't have the paper, but you can prove from map records or other documents that the utility has been in the ground for more than 25 years.
Okay.
Yeah, I have no idea when they were installed or by whom, but they're there and they're taking, part of what they take is street storm drainage, so we'll get those televised. They're very shallow. The ones coming through the yards are, I'd be surprised if there's 6 inches of soil on top of the pipe.
I'm going to add and correct that the borough has stormwater maps that identifies them as ours. And the outfalls is ours on the MS4.
Gotcha.
For those pipes.
Yeah.
The storm inlets were most likely cut in by borough staff many years ago at the request of a homeowner who had ponding in their backyard, which probably should have never been done.
Agreed.
Because it is not uncommon for a stormwater pipe or some other utility to go across private property and not have a recorded easement if it went in, let's say, in the 1920s.
Yeah, and there's a anomaly of Pennsylvania real estate law, though, that underground pipes don't get prescriptive easements unless you have actual knowledge of where they are, because it has to be what's called open notorious. The drain could, because it's visible, but pipes running under a property for 1,000 years don't generally create a prescriptive easement in Pennsylvania.
I stand corrected, and that's not what a lawyer told me 20 years ago. Maybe something has changed since then.
No, it's always been the law of Pennsylvania. A lot of lawyers don't seem to know that piece, but there is a underground pipe. Again, I'd see it differently though when you have a sticking up drain. If you know that it doesn't belong to you too. I mean, that's the other part. So
Yeah,
it does get a little funny if we don't really know, are they ours or not?
Yeah, the land development plans for that particular area, they're very old, and a lot of times back then, the land development subdivision plan was just a single sheet, just showing the plats and the meets and bounds. There was no real detail on anything as far as piping or anything goes. It's just basically plats.
Yeah, some of them, even when they're there, they're really hard to tell what's going on with them. I know some other towns right now we're looking at that, you know, from back in the 40s or whatever.
Oh, when we took over years ago, water and sewer systems that used to be owned by private companies. When the Authorities Act came into being and they took over those, there were a lot of things we inherited that were not just storm sewer, but sanitary sewer that were not on maps, but and no easements. And that's where I got the information on prescriptive easement back then. It had to do with sanitary sewers there were no documents on.
Yeah, and just to clarify, so the reason this was, the main complaint of the resident was the drain is starting to sink in and just become a mess. And he brought me over to his neighbor's property, which is a similar thing, and the other neighbor was out too, and I went and discussed with him, and it was this kind of the same complaint. The drains are kind of sinking in, and then it was kind of told further that they're not even working well. Whenever it rains heavy, they flood. And so I guess I was like, listen, I'll get some information. So I guess my first question is, one, whose responsibility is that? So do we have what is that? Whose responsibility is it?
Well, it sounds like we've been treating it as ours.
Well, I'm sure it's going to show up on our borough maps because we had to identify the outfalls to all those pipes for the MS4 program.
Yeah,
and we had an engineer comb the borough back in the 1990s and document all those pipes. So I can't imagine we were documenting pipes that weren't ours.
Well, you got the same problem out on Adelia Street.
What problem do I have on Adelia Street?
The same kind of problem out on Adelia Street.
Well, going back to Hoffer Street,
You ought to talk to him.
I have no objection. I just wanted to make it known to everybody that I do own a property out there, and for the record, I've never had any issues with mine. I've never had any that I've noticed come up, and there is one that the borough is on, that's on borough properties, like directly across from my house. I've never seen any ponding or flooding out of that one either. That it's right behind one of my other properties. So through there all the time. I've never seen at a mine and the one the borough owns any ponding or flooding. Just for the record. But I don't have any objection to it. It was news to me.
Yeah, I mean, I can get them televised, at least that, you know, we'll get a condition on the inlets, and we'll also see if there's anything in the pipe. Ponding is, sadly, I think, going to become, more prevalent. We seem to get the same amount of rain each year as historical, but it comes in far fewer storms, and it comes down very fast and very hard. Since those pipes are only 15-inch pipes and they're laid pretty flat, it doesn't take much for a gully washer to overwhelm the system. And it will go down. It just needs a little time to let it go down.
Now, I have seen the stormwater drains on Hoffer Street. Not the ones in the yard, but the physical ones on Hoffer Street back up in flood.
Because they're going into that same little tiny.
No, I get that. I'm just saying, I'm just making, from living there, I mean, you've seen it like pretty much right in front of my house and Sue's house, heavy rains, that the street there floods.
It happens on Wood Street under the underpass, the railroad underpass.
Yeah.
It goes
It's
away.
bad there.
As the rain stops, it goes away
Yeah.
fairly quickly. It's
Within
just
an hour, yeah.
too much happening too quickly.
Well, that comes down along the railroad tracks and then floods underneath.
Thank you, Matt.
Yep, I will,
Appreciate it.
hopefully I will have the televising portion done for the next workshop, and we can go from there.
Matt,
Yes,
Appreciate
sir.
can I get with you after the meeting?
Oh, Rochelle, go ahead.
Yeah, after the meeting, I'd like to talk to you about the street, about the same issue.
Are you guys having an executive session after?
Yeah, I'll do it real quick.
Okay.
Okay.
Councilor Lloyd?
Matt,
Yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry, and if this was said, I couldn't hear everything that was said. Regarding the Woody Waste card,
Yes.
so the $30 for everyone, for Middletown residents would include 15 uses, correct?
Yes.
Could we offer like another card where the resident pays, say, $50? Because I don't, okay, well, first I think, I mean, essentially that's only like $2 to come up and dump a load of stuff. But for a year, I don't think that 15 trips is a lot. Like, if you consider fall and summer and spring, like, if you bag your grass,
We
I
can't.
don't know, 'cause I don't see that.
Yeah,
We can't.
they don't take grass.
I don't see yard work, sorry. So that's a bad example, but I just don't think that 15 times is very much for a year.
It's a lot.
So like, could we look at increasing the fee of the card itself and make it unlimited for residents, but limit outside, non-residents?
I believe that we will still end up with, if we leave it unlimited, we will get commercial users using it.
Yep.
And that's the goal that we don't want to do.
Well, and my other thing is, honestly, this is just my opinion on this, I don't think $50 for non-resident users is enough. I think we should charge more than that.
I'm open to whatever,
I think.
whatever
Yeah.
council would wish.
How much are you looking for, Ange?
I'm not talking the lower Sweater, township when they drop off stuff, but I'm saying like if a resident from Lower Sweater wants to use it, we're only charging them $20 more than a Middletown resident for the same amount of uses. I don't know, 75? I mean, you think about it, if it's even $100 at $100 for 15 uses is $6.67 for them to come dump their stuff.
I'm
Yeah.
perfectly.
You have to remember too, there are those residents who might go 2 times a year
Well, that's
and need a car.
So then, can we offer for, I'm not talking about our residents, I'm talking non-residents.
Yeah, I'm
So-
a non-resident. I go maybe
Yeah.
2 times a year.
Well, I'm a resident, and I don't know if I go more than once a year, so.
Single-use cars for $10?
But I mean,
Yes, it's a more per trip, but then they're not committed to using, you know, spending $50 and then it'll cut down on having somebody else use their card if they buy a one-time card for $10.
I think she's onto something, just because I lived here 13 or 14 years this October. I have never in those years used Woody Waste that many times in the year, ever. I think that even the fee for the residents could be higher than what it is, and I wouldn't give them 15 uses on a card. It's going to lead to what Ian said. I'd drop that down to a handful. Most people have town lots. It's a very small town. We don't have acres and acres of landscaping. You know, if you dropped it to 5, I bet you people would barely use 5 in a year.
It's not enough.
Well,
Well-
15 I think is astronomical.
Well, the thing is that,
$3 a load.
Yeah, and that he's spending more in his time and gas and machinery wear and tear than you'll ever get off that price. $2? I mean, my gosh, you're running more electricity to open the gate for them to come in and out. I just think.
Why don't you think about setting it at a limit of 10 uses, and make it to 30, and maybe bump the 50 up to 60. So Middletown's paying $3 to drop off one time, and if you're in a township you use it once, it's costing you 4 times. You have up to 10.
Do you know who I could see using it 10 times? I use landlords as an example. If you own more than one property in town and all those addresses are in your name, then yeah, if you're doing landscaping on each one of those, you could possibly going up to 10 times a year.
I've had years when I've been in there maybe 6 times because I have a small pickup truck and I have a full size and I don't have a trailer. So to get rid of the same volume that maybe Ian can get rid of, who has a 12-foot long trailer and he fills it up with leaves, he gets 6 cubic yards on that trailer and fills his large pickup truck. But I have to go 5 times to get rid of half of what he's dumping there.
Right.
I have to go through that gate 5 times.
Yeah.
And I don't.
Yeah.
And I don't. For leaves.
No, for branches, like that dead branches or comes down, and I have to chop them up to fit them in my, my box on my truck's like 4 feet by 5 feet. That's it.
Yeah.
In each of the cards themselves, I believe the last time I think Lori had gotten some, they're around $3 or $4 a piece just for the card.
For the access card.
For the magnetic card. And then one of the things with the day use is there might be a lot more traffic generated downstairs. And we may go through a lot more cars.
Or at the facility.
Well, I mean,
yeah, but you gotta spend to cover the cost of the card, and that's $3.
Well, listen, we could always, we could always readjust again in 6 months. This is tightened down from where we are today. Is what?
No, I don't disagree. I'm just saying I don't think an average citizen uses that 15 times a year. And I think it leads to the problem that has been alluded to.
Matt,
yes, ma'am.
are the cards reusable from year to year?
I believe they can erase them and then they can reload it.
So could you find out like how much work is involved in that? Because what I'm thinking is that, so I didn't realize, I'm sorry, that the cards were that much. Like, I mean, if the card's $3, now we're at $27. So maybe we could look at doing like, the card costs $5, you pay for the card separately, but your card can be reactivated from year to year when you come in and pay your fee. I know it's more work, I
think they are reactivating the cards, I believe, Andy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, so they are being
Yeah,
reused.
you're not fine.
Yeah, you keep the same card, but you'd have to have it, you have to pay for it every year
Yeah, because
to have it activated.
whatever I think I usually have the Woody Waste facility closed like the second week of January, so people can get their Christmas trees and so forth out there. Whatever that date is that I tell Lori, she just goes in and turns them all off, so that no one can use it then. So when you come back in and pay your whatever we decide the fee is, then it gets reactivated.
So I've got 2 things. He's correct. We do reactivate them unless they are in bad shape. Then we would replace them with a new card. there are instances where people go, oh, I forgot my card, you know, or I lost my card, or whatever, so we have to give them a new one. So we can decide if we wanna recharge them $3 or $5 for a new card, but, one other thing I do wanna, say is that I would not recommend selling or having a resident buy a card and giving it to a landscaper. I think that we're trying to move away from landscapers coming in there, and like if you're a resident and you're a landscaper, well, you get a card and you can dump stuff. But what could happen, and I know from personal experience, if I've had a landscaper come in, they take it. I don't have to remove anything. So I would not encourage people to buy a card to give to a landscaper to use. The landscaper not supposed to be buying that card.
No, I agree with you.
Yeah.
But my point is having 15 swipes on a card, that
Right.
lends it that that's going to happen.
Right.
Whereas if it's more limited, only the resident's going to use it because they can't afford to give the card to a landscaper to use because they're not going to have enough swipes.
I would discourage that, and
What-
if we see
what-
landscapers coming in using resident cards, I think we need to have.
Well, what about your 92-year-old landscaper that doesn't have a
92.
80, 70?
Time to
What the
retire.
devil's not- What the devil's an 82 person doing with a chainsaw?
Yeah, you said landscaper.
You did.
I meant,
You said-
I meant,
You said
Really?
92-year-old
That's
landscaper.
on you.
I meant,
Are you serious?
Rochelle, humor me.
Okay,
mean-
I'm gonna humor you.
I think you're.
92-year-old guy with a chainsaw.
My point is, if what I would do personally is I would welcome
Cut their foot off.
the landscapers. I would charge the landscapers $500, and I would keep the residents at 30. Welcome the commercial stuff. Charge them $500 for a card, and make the lowest rare resident 65.
But the
Instead of trying to,
we have nowhere to take this
That's
stuff.
the,
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the
Understand?
problem.
yeah.
It's not
We've
money.
gotten so many landscapers coming in there dumping off that we have nowhere else to do to put the
That's
grind
the
in.
pickle.
How do you stop a landscaper from getting just a normal card?
That's the issue.
You can't, but if
Right,
it would
so-
only be 15, then they're done.
I mean, I hire
Go ahead.
I hire a landscaper to do my stuff. So, okay, I want to go back to Jim's point. Say a landlord owns 15 properties in the borough. I think that landlord should be able to buy 15 cards.
They're done by address. So yeah.
Should be able to buy 15 cards.
If you have 15 properties, you could get 15 cards.
I mean,
They would all get 15 uses.
yeah. I mean, why would you take if I own 45 properties in the borough of Middletown? I'd be like, well, you get one card, sir.
Well, wait a minute. Are you putting them in your name?
That's my point.
Are you putting all 15 in your name?
Doesn't matter.
Goodbye, Charlie. You only get one card.
I think they go.
That doesn't make any sense
Yeah,
at
it
all.
does. If you're putting your
Why would you
putting your name-
penalize? Why would you penalize?
Because then you know you're a landlord.
Okay, so
Well, why would you need 15 cards and you have? It makes perfectly good sense. You don't need 15 cards. You only need one.
So if I own 10 properties in the borough and I get a card that has 10, so that means
10 or 15 uses.
you own one property and you got 15 uses and I get one use per property. That sounds real logical.
We can.
No, it sounds like you're a landlord.
Oh my God.
I still have a property that I need to clean up.
Well, clean it up, Charlie. Get a landscaper. Isn't that what you just said? I'll get a landscaper to clean my property.
I already
and let
do.
him take your stuff somewhere else.
I do.
Well, then God bless you.
I just feel like common sense,
mean,
but
if-
whatever.
It-
I digress.
If council wishes to discuss this amongst themselves more, we can table this until September's workshop. I just wanted to try and get something to lower
Right.
flood area, but I don't think even $1,000 is really gonna upset their budget. I just wanted to try and give them the number while they're going through their budget process. But
I
if
think
we,
I think what you're on to for lower sweat air is a good deal.
Yeah,
I
for them.
really- I really do.
For
I
them, it's
think-
a good deal. It's a great deal.
I think it's
Yeah.
wonderful.
It is.
I think you should give them the number.
Can we table it and think about it some more?
I think,
Pick back up.
did you have something, Angie?
Well, no, I was just gonna say, regarding what you just said about Laura Sweater, the $50 for their public works for the next year, I'm fine with. It's just the other fees that I would like a little more time if possible.
Right. I'm
So
with you there.
Give them a number. I would be okay with the $50 for their public works, but I would like to maybe think about the other stuff a little more.
If council mulls this over, I'll be happy to, you can email me or call me with
I will.
recommendations, and then I'll put together something for September's workshop.
I'd like to ask one last question with Sally. Just out of curiosity, I don't want to open a whole other can of worms, but this is my question. The online bill pay system that we've been using is great. Here's my question. Is it conceivable to have a card and say, I want to buy 5 swipes on this card? Go onto the borough website, 5 swipes equals this much, add to card, boom, and then the borough can assign it.
Well, not at this point, and it would require an upgrade of our financial system. And so, because I've had this conversation before, and it's not an easy, it's not an easy answer. Right now, it's all utilities on there.
Yep.
That is through our Tyler technology, working with Global Payments. That's all that we can do
See, what are
on
you,
what we have right now.
you're talking like a gift card.
No, it's almost like you go to an arcade. I'm buying $5, you swipe the card, it puts that much money on the card, and you have it to use. That would solve my issue that I'm bringing up. It solves Ian's issue with him owning 15 properties. You buy as much as you want on there, and you have a set price. It covers the card, it covers the operating costs for Matt, and everyone's happy.
But what I was gonna say is, we're talking about getting into a gate. We're using a magnetic gate card. It only, when you put it near it, it opens the gate.
Yeah.
It doesn't know any other kind of
Right.
intelligence, like
Well, how is the money tied to the card then through your system now?
They have to manually enter it. It's like when somebody comes in to pay a bill, a utility bill, it gets manually entered, and goes to the credit card. It just can't be done online.
So we turn the card on and off, basically.
Yeah.
So the
But-
card only has an on and off function, and the ladies downstairs are typing in, oh, you wanted access for this year, we're charging you whatever number.
$10, you have access this year. $50, you have access this year. There's not tiers
Right.
to it, like, and they can't go in and turn on and shut off based on how many uses a card has. They don't have that ability.
I mean, to Jim's point, I believe the technology is just like you go to an arcade where you go to a kiosk and you buy a card. Hey, I want 500 tokens. You put $50 in. You go to the game's 50 tokens. You swipe it. I mean,
But the gate needs to be able to recognize the card, how many swipes it has on it,
Yeah.
and turn it off, like when you're at
And I don't think they make gate operators like you would a game system.
no. Is there a device like you see it at a hotel that they activate the card with downstairs, or
For
I
your
mean,
room.
how do they load that card?
activated in the permit, in the,
Door
The-
King.
the door king. Okay, so it gets activated and then it gets assigned in door king to a name and an address and usually a vehicle license plate and a driver's license number. So, but it doesn't say, oh, this one has 5 swipes, this one has 10.
Well, so how are we doing that now? I mean, you're doing.
They get paid $10 and they get.
It's just an on and off card.
You have to
So
manually look at the spreadsheet once a month to see if somebody hit 15.
Who the hell's
Say,
doing
turn
that?
them off.
So that's
So you might
that's
run over.
getting to the issue.
Yes.
They're not limited to 15.
No, they're not limited right now.
So
There's no-
that this policy has no teeth, is what I'm saying. Because I could go down, you can make that $3, you can make it $100. No one's going to check that reader to see how many times Jim Curry on that particular card went in and out of that facility. I could have done it 6 times a week
I'll see if the
You could
Door
do it,
King-
you could do it 30 times in a day if you wanted to, and they wouldn't catch it.
And you wouldn't catch it.
But some operator down there, one of the ladies at the front office would have to look at the,
No one's doing that.
yeah, well,
They will
maybe
do it-
monthly they could look at it, but not,
It would be a randomized, targeted.
Yeah, you'd have
We're gonna
to, you'd have to
audit.
think someone was abusing it to even look into it.
I'll check to see if the program allows it to have a certain number of swipes before it turns off. We may have to, the Door King program it's a relatively simple program. They may have an update now.
I think that would solve the whole thing.
I mean, there's no reason, just like a kiosk that you can have downstairs in the lobby. Just like you go in an arcade, a kiosk, you go up to it,
Change the reader to an arcade reader and put in a crane machine, and we can unload our own stuff with the.
now we're on to something.
No, but Matt, I think you should look into that because that would limit people abusing it, which we're never going to catch. You guys are far too busy keeping this borough operating to worry about how many swipes somebody had on a Woody Waste card.
See,
You're never going to catch that.
That's my thing is, we are, in my opinion, we are too far into the rabbit hole. I say monetize it, make the money, and forget about it. Because you just spin your wheels trying to we're going to go after this vendor, we're going to look at this vendor, we're going to just welcome it, monetize
I
it.
will say I've been to 2 other communities where I've had a card already, and they're doing basically what we have, a magnetic card for the year.
No, I get it. I'm just saying if that technology is possible, I didn't use Woody Waste at all last year, so I wouldn't have bought a card. But maybe somebody that has 15 properties wants to buy 30 swipes. So
Okay.
they'd be able to do that.
I'll do some research on the Door King manual, and I will also verify the price of the card, and I'll ask Lori to print off where we stand to date, and that will show, people who have been in there 40, 50, 75 times. As has been talked about.
I don't think we're asking for that. You've already made that case. We don't need to see an accounting of who did what when.
Okay.
Look into the technology.
Thank you for clarifying. All right, anybody else have any other questions for Matt?
Just Matt, thank you for tidying up
Yeah.
the ordinance.
You're welcome.
Great job, Chief.
Thank you, Matt.
Thank you, everybody.
We're going to be in a better spot either way, so that's good.
I agree with that. Either way, we're moving uphill.
Yep.
Agenda item number 10, Mara, is
There's 2 reports in the packet with all the information from the programs for the last 2 months.
excellent.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
When are they gonna have spin class?
Gotta wait and see what comes out on the schedule.
They have the bikes, right?
Yeah, they do.
But they only do it in the winter.
I need to.
There's no interest when they can go outside and ride in the summer.
I need to buff up a little bit.
I have one question, Jenny. How do they do the Raider Family Summer Night series movies in the park? Do they buy a license for that?
Yes.
Okay. Do you buy it per title or I want to show this many movies in the summer and you pay a fee for the number?
I believe what he does is he picks the movies, and that's what he gets the licensing approval for, and they're the movies he shows. And he does that all in one clip.
Okay. Do you remember do you know approximately how much it costs him if you had a guess per movie?
Over $1,000.
Yeah.
Per movie?
Wow.
Okay.
That's all. Agenda item number 11, Director Wright. Oh, I'm sorry. You good, Jim?
Yeah, I just said thank you.
Good evening. I promise I won't use the word gully washer in my presentation.
Okay.
What the devil is that?
Police staffing update, we're currently 1 officer short. The 3 officers currently in the FJO program are doing great. They're really good guys. They're fitting in well, and they seem to be doing really well. As an action item, I'm requesting that at the next meeting, council approves testing to hire and fill the vacancy created by the Witherite resignation. The 3 officers we had just hired kind of kept us busy for a while, but now we're ready to proceed and hopefully hire somebody prior to either the academy starts or with somebody with experience. The only other issue that I wanted to talk about was our tasers have reached end of life. I'm currently talking to Taser about replacing them and the cost of replacing them. I should be able to work within my existing budget to do that without any significant changes. more than like a couple thousand in one line item, so we should be good with that. They're still operational and functional, but they no longer warranty them or repair them.
Yep.
So, and they're the only game in town.
Okay.
So it's not very competitive. So
The company is actually Taser?
Taser is the name of the company. Axon. Taser Axon, yeah.
Okay.
So is it the gun itself or the cartridge or both?
The cartridges have an expiration life, but they also provide a newer model. And they've gone to when tasers were first purchased, you would spend a significant, I don't know, $800-900 a taser. You would buy them, and you would buy cartridges as you needed them, and you would download any taser data or deployment onto a local device. Now you buy them, and it's going to be a long-term purchase, ongoing. You need a license for each taser to download to an online site. You need, so basically you're purchasing a warranted item for 5 years and paying for it over the course of 5 years. So their business model has changed. Obviously, they're a publicly traded company, and they're in it to make money. There's no competition. But I have a couple more Zoom meetings with the guy, but I should be able to work it into our existing line item, existing budget.
Oh, thank you. I mean, it is what it is.
What's happening at the 100 block of North Catherine Street?
Well, I think we had one call there recently, but
Is it same place?
It was somebody different with one of the other people, but it's been relatively
Which one?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll ask you
yeah.
after.
So it's we haven't been there a lot.
Oh, good.
That's
So
good.
They had a summary hearing in front of Judge Judy, and he put the fear of God in them to attend neighborhood
Watch.
mediation.
Or neighborhood
Mediation.
mediation, yeah.
I don't know whether they have or not, but he's made it clear to them that if they present themselves in his courtroom again,
He's throwing the book at them?
Yep.
Sending
he
somebody
did that.
to jail?
He did that a couple of years ago, and it seemed to work for a period of time.
He did that at the one meeting, the one that I went to, and told them if they showed up, he was sending somebody to jail.
Right.
So it must be somebody totally different this time.
Well, seems to be good for now.
Okay.
Thank you, Dan.
Well, while Dan's
Thank
here,
you,
and
Dan.
just off the heels of Matt, why I was reminded of, I thank Dan for putting the electronic speed sign out there on North Union Street, just past the high school. That's in on the Middletown side there. So it looks like we're telling people as they're going out of town, but recently got a couple of concerns about that intersection at the school, with the school opening up, was about to open up, because the other thing there, the Woodland Avenue, or Sage Boulevard, I guess it's called, it goes the whole way to Vine Street now, it's open.
Yeah, the connection
And
is made, yeah.
There's some, the folks at the homeowners association out there, they're concerned that that intersection should be signalized, and they had heard that it was gonna be signalized, and I let them know that there is a traffic signal agreement with the developer. However, we have to make sure that that intersection, the volume of traffic meets PennDOT warrants before they'll allow a permit for a traffic light to go in. And our agreement for the signal with the developer says we only get to ask him once every 2 years to do a traffic study. So I don't want to do it right away and then find out it doesn't meet warrants and have to wait 2 years to do it, to get him to do it again. So this is what I relayed to the folks. One person at the school district called me, and then a person from the homeowners association. So in the meantime, I asked Dan if he'd put the traffic speed sign out there as school's open, maybe just slow people down or get them to slow down. So that's why that's there. And Matt is going to be looking at getting a count of, not a full-blown traffic study, but a cheap 30 count, maybe from HRG with their traffic counter out there, see if we're getting close. And if we think we are, if we're at that point, then we'll ask the developer to do the study.
And then whose responsibility is all to put the traffic light in?
Developer.
Okay, and are they,
They're aware of it.
no, but I mean in terms of the type of light that they put in, and the style of it?
Talking
Is that,
about-
is it, do we have any say for it to be the historic type?
Not in that agreement, there's nothing.
What do you mean historic type?
Well, instead of having the stupid galvanized ones, since we're the oldest town in
No.
Dauphin County,
No.
can we get
Nothing
the
in there
green
about
ones?
that.
No.
Can we approach them to say we'd pay the difference?
I imagine we could.
Well, we're gonna need an arrow.
I'm not talking about that. I'm
Okay,
talking
but
about.
I'm just saying,
about the
we're
style.
gonna need a left arrow on that.
I'm just talking about, this goes to other conversations we've had at this table where you often get one bite at the aesthetic apple, and I don't want to blow it again. If the study ultimately warrants a light being put in there, and they have to pay for it, if the cost of a galvanized pole is $1 and the cost of the historic green one is $3, I am saying that we should pay $2 and see if we can work that out to put the historic type in rather than a galvanized one.
Well, my issue is on the side of safety, and I want to make sure that we get the left light, the left turn light.
Well, that's what the study would.
Well,
show.
that's for the engineers.
That's for the study.
Okay.
I'm only talking aesthetic. I'm
It-
saying if they say, hey, you need a traffic light here, if that's
Makes
what the
sense.
study comes back and says
Right.
that we need the light,
Okay.
that's fine. That's
We're-
great. That's
we're-
for safety.
We're definitely gonna need the light,
Yeah.
but as far as anything is concerned, as far as aesthetics is concerned, that's a whole different ball game. That left turn light comes first.
Yeah, well, we're not engineers at the table, so we'll let the engineers determine what.
Yeah, you can't put a left turn in unless the traffic study says you need one.
Well,
Right.
we're
It's
gonna
gonna have-
need one.
So so
Like I
Ken,
said, we'll let the engineers tell us what needs to be done.
is that something, Ken, that you could once we get to that point that we can look into?
Yeah, we can talk.
They'd be duty bound to put in the regular one. Maybe we could pay the difference. We'd still be getting a deal.
If you can afford the green one, then go for it. But make sure that left turn is in there. That's all I'm gonna say.
I'm gonna make a right turn.
I'm gonna spank you.
Agenda item number 12, joint venture / Viola. Are you with us tonight? They are not gracing us with their presence.
Sure do.
Yeah, I know. Agenda item number 13, council or mayor. Does the council or mayor have any updates they'd like to bring to our attention?
Yep. Now, here we go. Fellow council members, we have developed two ordinances. There are two issues in this borough that our residents and us as council members, but our residents most especially are upset with. One being rental inspections or lack thereof, because we have too many absentee landlords or slumlords. I want our program, our rental inspection program, to mirror that of the Elizabethtown Borough, making sure to add the following landlord wait a minute, where am I? Making sure that landlords, if they pass the inspection the first time, that if they don't have to do a yearly inspection. But if they fail the first inspection, that they have to am I right, Jim?
So it depends. I was involved in that Elizabethtown a long time ago, but we just put one in Londonderry. Now they don't have as many rentals, but there's always a bunch of parameters you got to look at if you're doing it, and one is depending on how many rental properties you have, what the cycle is going to be. So most of them will have repeats, like every 3 years,
Right.
something like that. So it's not you just punch in once and you know, never get inspected again. If you have too many, it overwhelms the system because they're pretty intensive, and a lot of them, like Elizabethtown, actually hire outside code companies
Right.
to do them for a cost. And typically they're bundled with a permitting scenario where you're not allowed to be a landlord without having a permit. So you pay an annual permit fee the inspection's a piece of that. Some other things go along with that, but, you know, you could, a lot of college towns will have them be every year, and they're, you know, pretty expensive. Other places,
Well,
I think Londonderry, we just put it in at once every 3 years.
my thought is if you pay the inspection and you don't fail, then you skip a year and you go on the let's say you get the inspection 24, you pass, then you don't get inspected in 25, you get inspected in 26. But if you fail in 24, you have to pay another fee to be re-inspected after you complete the repairs. But the inspection, the initial inspection, would be higher than the re-inspection.
Yeah, you certainly can play with all those different kinds of variables. I've never seen one where you didn't have to, if you failed, where you wouldn't have to have a re-inspection afterwards.
Right.
Like I said, I have seen, though, some municipalities that have a lot, and Middletown does have a lot per capita.
Right.
Where they've come to the conclusion pretty quickly that you have to space out your inspections and put people in different cycles, or you'll overwhelm the codes department or your inspectors.
Right.
Trying to keep up with it, but, you know, like I said, usually annually you have to, or, you know, maybe you're buying 2-year permits or whatever it is. So, you know, one track is paying for permits, being registered, the other track is the physical plant being inspected. That's pretty typical, you know, to have both those components.
Okay.
Then you know, we've also, like in Londonderry, there's a 2-tier thing. There's one level for short-term rentals, you know, Airbnbs, and then there's one for long-term rentals. You know, 2 different sets of inspection, and they're codes-wise sort of different because you have transient people coming in. You know, there are certain differences in the safety codes because,
Right.
you know, if I live in a house for a while, even as a tenant, I get to know, I know I can climb out that window, I know where the fire, you know, all that stuff. If I come in for the weekend,
you don't know that.
I don't know. I wake up in the middle of the night, the house is on fire, and like, wow, I don't, you know.
Mm.
So they're different.
That's not something that crossed my mind when I was thinking about this.
Yeah, so, I mean, you can nuance it that much. You don't have to. I'm just saying they're, you know, and that also depends on whether you have a lot of Airbnbs and things. And if a town doesn't, you may not want to bother with that.
Well,
but-
we do. We do have some Airbnbs.
Rochelle, what would the cost impact be on the borough?
In the first place, well, first of all, I don't think that we, as the borough, we or our staff, would be doing it. My understanding, if we mirror like E-Town, their cost, what was it, 72 or 70?
Yeah, I don't even remember. So, in most, like I said, it's a very typical thing in a college town. This sort of is, you know,
College
sort of a
town.
But, you know, you can legally have
And it's
reasonable fees.
Commonwealth Codes that does it.
Yeah, Commonwealth is doing Elizabethtown, and
So-
I know right now Londonderry's looking to find someone, but you can price it out so that the system pays for itself.
Right.
So
But that does end up
And we get a
impacting
percentage
tenants.
of the cost.
No, so it's
No,
not
wait a
a
minute.
profit-making thing.
But
It
no,
needs to be
no.
a reasonable fee.
Right.
You know, you're trying to set up permitting fees so that you're covering the cost of running that
Right.
program. But it's not a profit-making.
No, it's not. But we get a percentage. Right? Am I right?
So we would get a permitting fee.
Yeah.
But theoretically, that permitting fee is also, there's staff time to make sure people have their
Right.
permits. You know,
Right.
You're policing it, you're fielding
Right.
complaints. You know, you're managing the vendor, even if it's an outside vendor.
Right.
And you try to scale things to cover the cost of the system.
So do you have an idea what this costs?
No, we'd have to talk it out with Commonwealth Codes to find out how much they would charge to do this. So, until we did that, I can't get a cost.
I mean, a lot of towns are doing it, so there's a lot of information
Yeah.
out there on,
I mean,
you know, how you could cost it. And, you know, you may set it up and have to play with it, so maybe,
Right.
you know, you don't overprice it in the beginning. And
I'm just curious what the fee, I'm just curious what it would cost.
It could be
Yeah.
$80, it could be $90, but it's not gonna be over, it's not gonna be $1,000 in.
Is that
Don't-
$80 per unit or per?
It's, let's look at it this way. If you have
remember
a
if we have one there or
3-unit
not.
apartment,
So
it's gonna be per unit apartment. If you have
it's
say you rent rooms, it's the whole house, okay? So,
Mr. Klein,
You
Peter,
know,
didn't we get, excuse
No,
me,
go ahead.
didn't we get a proposal from Commonwealth Code in, about a year ago?
It was from a company, but it wasn't Commonwealth, I don't think, Jason. It was some other company we got a proposal from.
Jason, do you remember what that proposal was? Because we talked about this, you weren't on council.
no, I wasn't.
And I remember we did get a price from a vendor to implement this.
Right. I was looking at various third-party inspectors, and they were doing a single family for 175, a 2-unit for 225, and a 3-unit for 275, and then add $50 for any other difference. And then a re-inspection for repairs would have been 100, 2-unit 125, a 3-unit 150, and 25 per unit to re-inspect. So that's higher than what would be in other situations. I had reached out to Commonwealth Codes recently, and that we would have to actually do a sit-down of what the whole ordinance is going to be in place for them to give you a better price.
Yeah, so I was gonna say, just pricing wise though, understand, you don't have to, like, you know, if you had a cycle every 4 years,
Right.
you wouldn't have to, because you're also going to have a permit fee.
Mhm.
So let's say 4 years where the cycles are every year paying a permit fee.
Right.
So you don't have to charge 100% through, like say they're charging $200 for an inspection. You could still charge $50 for an inspection, and because you have all the people paying permit fees aren't getting inspections,
Right.
subsidizing. So, you know, it doesn't have to be every 4 years I pay $500 or something. It could be the overall system is reasonable price wise.
Right.
Not, so if you think about like zoning, you know, you might go out and have a zoning enforcement one over here, but you're carrying a whole zoning department. So we have zoning permit fees and all that kind of stuff that support a program. The program as a whole has to be reasonable, but you don't have to pass every single dollar to that inspection
Okay.
through.
So,
You know, I'm glad Counselor Reed brought this back up. Jason's brought it before us at least twice, and I feel like you've never had any clear direction from us on
Oh.
what to do next.
Right.
So rather than us trying to figure it out here, might it make sense to finally clearly direct Jason to come back with what it would look like in Middletown?
Right. So that's,
You know,
that's,
to look at your information and consider the costs and talk to Commonwealth Code so that we can have a discussion based on your proposal.
I've already spoken with Commonwealth Codes, and they will need to get an idea from ordinance what inspections are we going to do. There's various things to look at that will have to be identified. One is who's going to be the administration of this, who's going to do the billings of it, who's going to do the inspections of it, how many rentals are there. There's 60% estimate rentals, just percentage-wise. I'm estimating around 2,500 units of awareness. I don't know if there's, I know that there's some that we're not aware of.
So the things that
Yeah.
Commonwealth Codes needs to work up more information for you, is that something you and the staff would figure out and give to them and then just
Later,
bring
we
to
could
us?
come up with some proposal ideas of what these scenarios would be and get you fees on those
Okay.
scenarios.
So,
So,
would the,
Jim,
Thank you,
Jim,
Rachel.
would you be willing to work with Jason on this?
Yeah, I mean, you know, like I said, we do this, but I will tell you, it is an issue where some towns, you know, it's third rail, nobody wants it, and then some
Right.
towns, everybody wants it.
Well,
So there's, yeah, the first issue generally is there a consensus that you really want it? You know, there's no point in doing all kinds of investigations and putting together sample packs if, you know, you don't wanna go down that
Well,
road, but.
I'm gonna be quite honest with you. I've had landlords, okay, who want this, okay?
Did you ask them why?
Yeah, I have.
And
And they said it's on the side of safety,
oh,
okay? Now, I'll tell you what, Jenny, you're a landlord, and you said it's on the side of safety. You're damn right. My uncle is a landlord. He said the same thing. Okay? I have two friends that are landlords. They said it's on the side of safety. So what do you want to say, Ian?
I'm just asking you a question.
All right, then. Go along with the program. Let's get on the train and go.
Right now, we engage with Commonwealth Code for our inspections, and correct me if I'm wrong, but the Borough of Middletown collects the fees for Commonwealth Code, correct?
They give for permitting, they do separate checks and they get the checks for that solely.
So in this program, would Commonwealth Code be billing the Middletown Borough directly, and then the borough is responsible for collecting those fees from the residents?
That's an option, or
That's generally how it would be. So they would be acting as a subcontractor agent for the borough, but, you know, it's a borough ordinance program.
It's not like
private.
Yeah, so it's not like I would get I'm a landlord. That's not a secret. It's not like Commonwealth Code would send me a bill for $100. Commonwealth Code will come in and do 45 inspections a week, or we'll say a month, and then they'll give the borough an invoice for that. The borough is writing that check out.
That's right.
And then the borough is going to each individual landlord and getting that fee.
And invoicing them?
So it's not like we're not. It's like you almost have to have this budgeted for, because it's like we're fronting that money. You know, we are carrying those costs. The borough is carrying that cost. If they're doing 50 inspections a month and each inspection totals $500, that is a carrying cost. Yes, we may be passing that on, and I'm not saying we wouldn't get compensated, but the borough is carrying those costs. It's just like any business. Am I misspeaking on that?
Yeah, we would be carrying the costs, and we would have to ensure that we have budgeting staff for these administrative procedures.
In our current 2024 budget, how much do you have budgeted for carrying costs for rental inspections?
For 2024, none.
Okay.
Well, we haven't decided yet.
Why
would he have money in it? We haven't given him any direction. Why would he have money?
I was just clarifying.
Although it is one of those impact, that would be another staff person.
Yes, with 2,500-ish units, and you have 365 days, that's a lot of inspections per day.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of big towns do it themselves. You know, like you go to City of Reading, or they're not contracting it out. That's a kind of newer thing happening. But again, theoretically, when you would look ahead at the budget, in addition to there being a cost, there's going to be income. You know, it's theoretically would wash. You know, there are going to be charges to the landlords.
And then if
that
we're carrying the
offset
cost, I think is Ian's point, we might lose some of those costs that we won't recover. Somebody skips town, sells their building, you don't get the.
I mean,
now they are
don't get the
lienable.
inspection.
I mean, you lien the house, you lien the building, and usually you
Well,
collect
that's a
most
cost
of them.
too, that gets the building.
Yeah, so it's one of those things, if you don't go along with the program, it's illegal for you to rent your place out. So it gets shut down.
I think that
if you-
exposure's small.
Yeah,
You said that you've represented towns that have done these, but you also just said a few minutes ago that some towns decide totally against them. What's the reasoning that those towns don't pursue it?
So a lot of them, there's a very strong landlord influence in those towns, and they look at we just don't like government regulate, it's really are you libertarian on one side, or are you, regulator? It's all very philosophical stuff, and,
Mm-hmm.
I just do whatever I'm told by the.
No, I understand. So,
majority.
other than-
I don't have a dog in the fight. So.
Other than the regulation aspect, do they provide, for the towns that do not pursue it, have they provided any other positions?
Not generally. It's really, I don't like the idea of government coming inside and inspecting.
Mm-hmm.
Some towns have screwed up things in that. So, I mentioned City of Reading. I mean, they got in big trouble in a federal lawsuit where they bring their police in when,
That's
with
that's
the inspections, and they kick the doors
taking
open.
the bait. That's what I'm getting at.
And they had permission from the landlord, and the court said, you need permission from the tenant. That's their dwelling. You violated the Fourth Amendment. Now you owe lots and lots and lots of money. So they can get mishandled, obviously.
Well, we're not gonna do that.
Well, how do you handle those issues where
We're
the
not gonna
tenant's not
involve the
cooperating with the
police.
landlord and you can't get in?
Yeah, so, that becomes a landlord issue. They better reserve that in the lease, that they're gonna let somebody in, and, that sort of thing.
And, yeah, there's a lot of month-to-month
Yeah.
leases in town if I don't
Yeah.
have that thing written in it.
So, like I said, I've seen people get really fired up about it on both sides of it.
I want to be clear, because I feel like Councilor Reed was kind of attacking me a little bit, and I want to go on record. I do own rental properties. I'm not saying for this program. I'm not saying I'm against this program.
Okay.
But I am
I
a real.
apologize if
No apologies needed. I am a realist, and I am a business owner, and I know that I'm going to pass these costs on to my tenant. That's just simple business. And if you have, say, a slumlord in town renting a unit out at $800, and I'm renting a unit out at $1,000, and I offer some nice amenities, and that slumlord now has to put some significant infrastructure into their place, and they say, well, I'm going to rent out for $1,000. I'm now going to rent out for $1,200. That's just simple economics. So we are in a time right now where it is extremely expensive to live. And I am really, really worried about our residents. And quite frankly, a lot of our renters probably are barely struggling to make it month to month. And although there is some good in this, some properties will get fixed up, I'm not denying that. But I'm being realistic that rent is going to go up. It's inevitable. It's going to happen. It's going to. Even if it goes up 3% or 5%, it's still going up. And with everything else in this world going up, food going up, gas going up, it's one more thing.
Yeah, but what about the renter that can't move because they've got bad credit? And then, what are they supposed to do? Live in a dwelling where the water runs into the electrical socket and they plug the thing in and they get shot? Yeah, that's okay. Really, that's okay. Or how about the person that was living around the corner from you? The siding came off the house, and you could see the insulation. There was no what is that little wafer board or
Tyvek?
yeah, nothing. It was just insulation, and it was wet.
Yeah,
And what are you supposed to do? You feel sorry for the tenant.
Well, I mean, also code enforcement and landlord-tenant laws that protect those situations. That's
Yeah,
not
but-
a
but-
rental inspection program. Is your
But-
if you're telling me that siding ripped off the house and they didn't fix it, Jason could have handled that.
But they did fix it. But it was the fact that they were made to fix it. He wouldn't have fixed
By
it
who?
otherwise.
Who made him?
If it hadn't fallen off, he wouldn't have fixed it.
Well, I guess he
Well,
wouldn't.
he wouldn't have a need to fix it if it didn't fall off.
Yeah, that's the only way he did fix it.
Okay, and who forced him to fix it?
Jenny, who made him fix it?
I don't know.
Maybe, I don't know. We don't know.
Maybe he just wanted to take care of his property. I don't know.
Yeah. Maybe because it rained or something, that dumbass fixed it. I don't know.
Jason, you've brought it before us twice before. What are your thoughts on the benefits? I'm assuming you see there's some benefits to it, or you
There's
wouldn't bring
pros
it
and
to us.
cons to either way of direction that you have. The pros are you're ensuring that there's tenants that are having the safe dwelling that they're renting from. At the same time, as what was just being said, if there's a complaint, we are able to go in there and get those taken care of.
Amen.
There's also the fear of if they do complain, there's retaliation, but there are landlord-tenant laws that they cannot retaliate on them. Many times there's complaints and they're retaliating and they're already behind on rent, so they're just getting the landlord to get things fixed after they're already evicted. So there's all sorts of scenarios that we've encountered and have faced with it. Ultimately, we do want to ensure that properties are safe for renters that are paying for something to have a safe living space.
Jim.
And at the same time, we have to look at, do we have the budget and the inspection process and the ordinance for these things? We are going to get hit very heavily with the ordinance getting passed of whatever nature that would be, and we would have to make sure that that gets maintained. There's recourse if we do not meet those standards where landlords are paying these fees and we're not meeting the expectations. So we do want to ensure whatever direction is taking place, we do it well.
And I think Jim mentioned, well, I mean, I don't know what kind of exposure comes from getting in a program like that where your contractor goes into the wrong house and sees the wrong thing, or he overlooks something in the inspection and the house burns down the next day. Those kinds of liabilities.
Yeah, so not generally.
Yeah.
This was so
Found.
we do have the Tort Claims Act and all those kinds of things. What happened in Reading, hopefully that was so far over the line, that was a federal civil rights lawsuit because police officers actually came and smashed the doors open on an apartment building with the permission of the landlord.
Gotcha.
And went inside of people's, while they were at work, like lots and lots of people's places. And then they came home to their doors smashed open that couldn't be locked. And,
it makes no sense to me as a landlord.
What was, besides, well, okay, they violated the Fourth Amendment, but that sounds like they were just crazy and just.
Yes, they were certainly went way over
Zealous.
any normal line. But, generally it's not a big concern of municipalities of liability.
Are there standard things that they will look at, or do you say, okay,
Yeah,
we
so-
want to pay you to look at just electrical outlets and see that they have covers, or we want you to look and start moving things, or
Yeah, so
looking under drop
A
ceiling?
lot of it is just IPMs. It really is International Property Maintenance Code stuff generally. Now, except where we've done short-term rentals, there's been more than that. Like, you may have to have a fire extinguisher visible, in the kitchen. You might have to have a, location where it has the clear address and everything, so that if somebody has to quick call 911, there's no like, oh, what's the address here? And there has to be
Life safety stuff.
yeah, capacity of how many people can be in there. And, like you've got to kind of acknowledge, here's the rules that you got to play by in this municipality
Now, how
for
about
short-term rentals.
with these programs? Do we take in all rentals, regardless whether it's just somebody's renting a house versus somebody has a 4-unit apartment building versus
all rentals.
versus a large complex like Oak Grove Village?
No, so where
renting-
they are, it's all. Like I said, if you see a breakdown or further nuance, it's usually
So it'd even be like a retirement village.
no. So you would exclude normally institutional things. So when you say retirement village, if it's retirement, if it's really an over 55 community,
Yeah.
so it's still just regular rentals, yes, you would. If it were a nursing home, no, you wouldn't.
Gotcha.
So it's not like this stuff hasn't been heavily thought out throughout the nation, or it's not a crazy. Let's
Spring Street.
think of ideas.
Yeah.
It's,
Well, I'm thinking even like the village of Pineford, you'd be inspecting
Oh,
all
that
those.
would be.
There's over 600 units.
oh, yeah.
How many units are on Spring Street?
Hmm?
For the student housing, yeah, there's gotta be
Is that,
400,
is
300.
that, wait a minute, which one are you talking about?
Spring Street.
One is Middletown.
Are you talking about the one up on the hill, or are
No,
you
Spring
talking
Street.
about
I mean-
the one,
Across from the cemetery.
So, I mean,
is that in Lower Swadera, or is that in Middle?
That's Middletown.
so here,
Okay.
Ken, you brought up a good point, because there is 700 units in Pineford. So there's 700 units in Pineford.
Some are homes and some are apartments.
So, yeah, but they're all
Rental.
rentals. So what would be the average cost per year? $200?
No,
He just read it to you.
I'm sorry.
that was another,
For one of the,
What was it? What
that was for another company, that's not Commonwealth Code.
Yeah, he knows, but Commonwealth we don't have a price from them.
single family would be 175, a 2-unit, 220.
175. So that would 175. That would cost Pineford $122,000. Now, do you think Pineford is eating $122,000? Because I can tell you right now, Pineford is not eating $122,000.
Well, guess what?
Right, but you just said divide that by how many units?
No, that's 700 times 175.
Right, but what I'm saying is,
But that's
each unit, they're not charged, each unit would only be charged
175.
175 over possibly a 2 or 3 year period.
yeah, but then you'd still be at 60-something if it's 2 years, or, you know, you're still, there is no question that, you know, you add another layer of cost on it, we'll end up at the tenant at some point, you know, whether
Yep.
it's a stormwater
Like
fee or
$20
whether
a month increase in their rent.
No, I'm just saying.
Well, it's not gonna
like,
be,
Mhm.
you would divide it by the number of years you're doing it, but
Yeah.
you'd still, if it were 2 years, it would be 61,000.
Okay, so divided by, yeah.
If it were 4 years, it would be.
Like
Mhm.
an investor like myself in town, really small exposure, I'm able to absorb something like that. But when an institution like Pineford is doing their global budget, and this now gets implemented, they're looking at an extra 61 grand a year if they do it over 2 years.
It sounds to me, and I think Jim, our solicitor, probably gave us the question that we have to think about more. I'm not sure we'll nail it tonight, and that is, do we want to do it? Are we compelled by safety, or are we discouraged by
Money.
increased costs? What is our job as council? So I don't know, maybe that's what we should give some thought to, and we promise not to drop the ball again for another 18 months.
I look at it this way, I'd rather err on the side of safety than to mess around and worry about the economics of it all.
Well, I think, Jim, isn't that what you're asking?
It is,
to
and
do,
like
to
I said,
decide
it's
where,
kind of funny where you see it more pro let's do it is a college town, so it's kind of funny, we're a college town to some extent, but most of the rentals aren't college students.
Mhm.
But if you go to, you know, certain college towns, it's almost all college students, and their price elasticity is very different. So
Mhm.
they're gonna, you know, their parents are paying whatever. If it's $10 more a month, you know, that's not gonna change
Right.
who's there. And in that world, there's also, it's a way to also regulate the activity, you know, so it does turn these into permitted things. You're really able to stay on top of how many people are living in there, what's going on. There's more registration kind of stuff.
Mhm.
So, you know, you see it like Elizabethtown is and it's kind of funny. I mentioned Londonderry, but when you think about it, Londonderry doesn't have rows and rows of houses. So it's farms, couple houses being rented. They were, you know, they were starting to have some meaningful Airbnbs, so they wanted to look at that.
Mm.
And when you get into that, you know, that was actually a two-pronged package for the short-term rentals of a zoning amendment saying here are the places you can do that, and then a police powers permitting inspection thing. And you can't zone out long-term rentals because, you know, that's very different from a transitory, you know, lodging situation. Like, you can't say you're not allowed to have, you know, long-term rentals in this part of town, you know, anywhere you can have a residential owned house, you have to allow a lease out, but you can have the non-zoning inspections. So,
Jason, I have one more question for you. On average, you know, you may not have the statistics. On average, monthly, how many complaints do you get from tenants about their living conditions?
20 to 30.
And what do those complaints usually consist of?
More it's interior stuff, which we don't get to see. With the exterior things we can pick up on. But the interiors of, we had one where an electric panel was on the floor of the unit at the bottom. We had one water heater, 2 units. So, there's things like that where we get that encountered. But it's not until there's been, most of the time when those complaints are, it's when there's been something where they're out the door or they're just really fed up.
So
so you are saying, though, if you got a complaint from a tenant saying, come in and look, you would go in?
Yes.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and you mentioned one water heater for 2 units. In that particular case, do you know if the owner paid for the water in the electric, or?
They did not disclose what they do on that.
Could I, on that note, could I say that some of those complaints then may not necessarily be life safety, they just don't.
Correct.
Like,
yeah, we're not looking.
The amount of heat or.
Yeah, we're not looking as soon as they call us for our, we're not doing a rental inspection at that point. We're just looking at what the complaints are. If there is something glaring out that is a safety concern, yes, we will address that too. And usually it's something where they didn't realize it was an issue, and I'm seeing that this is there's some wiring sticking out. So that was something that I had said we should include this into the report. So.
Councilor Reed?
I had a friend that is a tenant, lives in a rental. He loses over $300 a month in the wintertime. He's got a gas furnace, okay? The reason why he loses over $300 in the wintertime is because it's going out the window, because, you know, the windows don't close right.
That's not safety, that wouldn't be an
No. But what would be is when his electric went out, he couldn't figure out why. He thought it was the meter, okay? Here was the electric panel. He still had those little glass fuses.
Okay.
So if in a situation where that became dangerous and the individual calls Jason,
And they had to put a new fuse box.
but Jason would have the teeth to go into the rental and say, this is not kosher, it needs to be fixed.
Well, see, they're afraid of their landlord.
And I think that is the issue.
Yep. And if you do a rental inspection, some of these jokers will get caught. Some, you know, and I know for a fact that this guy, if you do a rental inspection on this guy, and I'm not doing this just because of this guy, I just know that there are some absentee landlords that do not live here in the borough, but have properties here that won't come here and check on their residents. Because all they're worried about is getting this and putting it in their pocket. But they don't care how the people live.
I actually 100% agree with you.
Okay then.
And guess what? When they have to shell more money out of their pocket, they're going to want more of this.
Well, guess what?
But you can't have it both ways.
No.
You either have a safe property that people have their eyeballs on, and you might have to pay a little more for it, or you have people who have electric panels on the floor and they're a little intimidated by their landlord and they're not going to say anything. A rental inspection program, I'm not saying I'm for or against it. I think we're a long way from knowing that. I'm just making the point that a rental inspection offers an objective outsider to come in so tenants feel they don't have to go to bat against the landlord. That's just the fact.
I think your point of hesitancy of a renter has already been disproved by Jason, who just said he receives 20 to 30 complaints a month from people who are complaining about the interior conditions of the rental. So to me, that doesn't equate to everyone's scared to say something.
No, not
So-
everyone's scared to say
So,
something.
but we don't regulate based on some minute possibility. So if he's getting,
Let's just say, for general purposes, it's a good idea on the safety side.
Yeah.
And it is.
I think so. I absolutely,
I think it's a good idea, safety-wise.
I don't disagree
And
with that.
let's not say that it isn't.
well, I
And
think
I
you
do-
got to give him direction. You got to have to figure out how many of
And
you.
I don't know how to quantify that. I don't know how to quantify the need. I understand the concept,
Yeah.
safety, we get that. I don't know how to quantify how necessary that is in Middletown to make such a big step forward, other than we have 60% rentals, and we use the term slumlord because we've made it easy for people to come to Middletown, and, you know,
And do
not everybody,
No.
not everybody. Therefore, I don't know how to quantify the need, unless
Right. Well,
you have some experience that can.
we'll want to ensure we have the staff for it. That's the,
Okay.
what
But-
the direction is, that we have the staff to do it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but to come up to the surface, you can't even go to Commonwealth Code and ask questions or get any further information unless you feel a majority of this council even supports going in the direction of a program.
Right.
So you're kind of spinning your wheels unless this council starts taking a straw poll or something to figure out if they even want to investigate this.
Well, we have done.
You've taken a straw poll of council?
Yes.
And how many people want to do it?
I've never told you either way, so that's.
I know that, but the majority of the rest of them have.
Well, we've never had this discussion at the body.
No,
So
we haven't.
perhaps somebody's mind has changed.
Has yours?
No, I think it'd be worth looking into.
Has yours, Clue?
You know me, I can't make an intelligent decision without facts, and right now we have no facts.
Yeah, you're right,
So, without
You
him,
were okay. You were okay with Elizabethtown.
don't have, Jason.
Oh, you mean because of Jason?
yes.
I think we do need more facts.
Okay, but as far as what Elizabethtown thing was okay.
They're saying they don't know until
What? What, Ange?
I'm curious, since we have the fire department in the audience, if they could maybe speak to what the properties are like in town in terms of safety, since they've been in some of, probably more than what most of us have, that are rentals.
Kenny?
Put you,
Oh,
I guess you're on the spot here.
Kenny's want to kill you.
A lot of the times with the rentals that we go in, not a lot. I mean, it's 50-50 when we go into these calls. Some of our residents don't have working smoke detectors when we get there. Luckily, the kitty program, we have smoke detectors, we put them in. But by law, that's something that the landlord's supposed to put in the units. The fire extinguishers, and a lot of times in certain areas of the town when we go in, I'm like, hey, did you address this issue with your landlord? And they say, well, no, they don't do anything about it anyways. Now, I don't follow up with that. If it's something that needs immediate attention, I call the landlord right away. I get a hold of Fire Marshal McKenna. He follows up with codes. Jason and I, we were actually working on a complaint form that we're going to have in the apparatus because it's happening more prevalent when we're going into these places with code violations that we're seeing right off the bat and getting a paper filled out. My biggest thing, if you guys move forward with it, is I guarantee you the number of working smoke detectors in this town is way lower than what you think it is. The amount of calls that we go on that we're even putting 9-volt batteries in. I know that's on a tenant side at that point to maintain it after it's in there. I get that. But that just to even have working smoke detectors in a residence, things of that nature, I'd like to see that on the list if you guys do move forward with something like that. Is that good?
No, thank you. Are you satisfied, Councilor Lloyd?
Yes, sorry, I had to unmute my phone. Actually, I do have one more question for you, Kenny.
Uh-oh, he couldn't make it back to the seat fast enough.
Get back up there. or a program or something, not the one you're talking about, but where like residents could go somewhere and get them if they needed them?
There
I
used,
remember it was
there
a couple
used,
years ago.
yeah, there used to be a kitty program, the fire alarm kitty, and they donated X amount of smoke detectors to every firehouse in the area. We've since ran out, and we had to purchase some just to keep on the rigs, because I'm not gonna leave a house without a smoke detector if I go there. I'm just not doing that.
Okay, so there is no program like that where,
Not anymore.
okay, alright, but there was, right?
There used to be, yes.
Okay, cause I thought, alright, okay, thank you, now I'm done with you.
Hey, Ken,
Okay.
before you go, how many houses do you run into where you do find code violations?
That I couldn't tell you. I wouldn't know, and I'm not gonna give a false.
Is it often?
I would say at least maybe a percentage, between 30 and 40% of the houses we go in, we could find a violation of some sort. And the biggest two is going to be a fire extinguisher or smoke detector that works.
Any electrical?
I mean,
You're not really looking for
yeah,
that.
unless I'm there for an electrical issue, I'm not looking at that.
Mm.
You know, I couldn't answer that one.
Mm.
Thank you, Mr. Kleinberg. I'm going to say the last thing because it sounds like we do have a consensus that we're going to move forward with this.
Okay.
With getting information.
Yeah, with getting
not
information.
Deciding.
Yeah.
Alright, well,
But-
wait, I got
Oh,
one more
I want
for
to
you.
say, I'd like to say something.
No, you can't,
Um,
no.
I believe, this is my opinion, but if a program like this was implemented, I believe I'm the one sitting at this table that would benefit the most. And the reason I say that is because, one, I'm going to increase my rents. I believe my property value will go up. But I also own an electrical contracting company, and I've heard the electrical term thrown around this table at least 10 times. So my phone is going to ring more. So as I stand probably to make the most off of this program, I believe sitting here, I'm also the one most reserved about doing this program because of the impact I think it'll have on the residents. The cost impact. So I probably won't support this program, but I'm definitely, hey, if you guys want to gather the data, the majority is the majority.
Okay. Okay, can I get to finish?
Please.
After having numerous conversations with residents and with my fellow council members, and numerous complaints to the police department, we have seen it, and we agree something needs to be done with these utility trailers parked throughout our community. I propose if the trailers are not registered to the address where they are located, it has to be removed. Each trailer must be issued a permit and also be attached to an operable vehicle.
It's one or the other.
Yeah.
Really?
You can't require them to do all that.
Mm-mm.
I wanted to keep you both happy.
The other neighboring municipalities require them to be connected to an operable vehicle.
And no permit program.
No, there's no permits in the other boroughs.
Pat, will you lose the permit?
I think when we were talking about this amongst ourselves, that's something that I was chewing on and thinking about. I feel like that's the least of two, I don't want to say evils, it's not bad, because one, this was brought up in council that we are like a quote-unquote river town, and there's a lot of people who have trailers and boats. On top of that, there's not a lot of people who have the property to park a trailer or boat that they use. And so my kind of in-between was, what if we permit these trailers, and that will immediately tell us if that trailer is registered to a resident of Middletown, because that's what I'm after first. Let's figure out how many of these trailers are actually residents, and if we can give the residents the freedom, and if there's a crap ton of trailers or whatever registered to non-resident users, then we get them out of here. So that was kind of my that's if I would say let's do steps to this, that was my initial step. Now I think the easiest thing is to say, one, you don't allow them or they have to be hooked up, because that's what a lot of other boroughs do. But that's not my opinion to do first.
Yeah, so that does, and Dan probably, you're gonna be regulating parking essentially, and when you think about it, due process wise and otherwise, first of all, the rules are more general parking kind of rules, but also if I pull up and, you know, park something there, you gotta have signs where I don't know I'm violating the law if I come from out of town or whatever. So normally, you're not doing it by permitting, you know,
So if-
unless you have an area, this is, you know,
Targeted
this is
area.
a permitted area for parking, like you're gonna designate, you know, like permit parking. So that it is much more common to have them, like, either you
Attached
can't have
to
any
it.
trailers out there if they're not attached.
Okay,
And-
so then we're.
Yeah, that's a pretty common one.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
I was just trying to think.
so you
outside
don't
the
have
box.
them just sitting out there. No, and there may be a,
Like, you can't do that for a whole borough, saying, like, there has to be, like, something on your trailer that says permit.
You'd have to put the signs up.
Yeah.
Signs.
So you'd have to have signs.
yes, I guess we'd have to figure out what are we aiming for, but,
Right.
you know, a lot of times if that connecting it to an operable vehicle eliminates a lot of the problem, because you know, you don't have trailers just sitting around. And,
Well,
you know,
I'm sorry, Pat. I couldn't help you on that.
Hey, just throwing ideas out.
Okay. Must be attached to an operable vehicle. Residents already have their trailers registered to a current residence will be allowed to obtain, forget it, from the, you gotta,
The permit related things.
yeah, I lost that. As long as they were, anyway. What we gotta watch for is anyone who, see that kinda hurts the whole process. Because anybody who brings in, who has those trailers here, oh, well, no it doesn't. We're good.
yeah, like, you know, Dan's sitting out there, but, you know, this is not a zoning, you know, the police department will have to enforce these, and we've had, you know, the camper issues,
Right.
where some of them sound great on paper, but then to actually enforce them, it becomes difficult. But it is much easier to have, you can't have a trailer sitting there for a week,
Right.
you know, not hooked to something, and that's what's happening here.
Yeah.
You know it is.
I had the permit issue was gonna be attached to the third, thing that I had, but since we're dropping that, it's good. It's all good then.
Rochelle, are you aware that the current law on the books is that a resident is only allowed to park one trailer on their property? So we have residents that actually want to put trailers off of the road, and we're prohibiting them from doing that, and they're putting them on the road.
Excuse me?
If you have a property in the borough of Middletown, say you have a lot or, you know, a nice sized yard, you can only put one trailer on that lot or in that yard.
Right.
So if you have 2 trailers or 3 trailers and you want to get them off of the road, you're not allowed to do that in the borough of Middletown. We don't allow that. So I think the first step before you go
Are
off
you
and
talking about boats?
I'm talking about trailers.
Whether it's a boat trailer, or it's a landscape trailer, or it's a
Trailer.
camper trailer, it's a trailer.
A trailer. An unmotorized vehicle. So anything that has a set of wheels and a title and tags but doesn't have a motor. Jet ski trailer, utility trailer, enclosed trailer, motorhome that, or I shouldn't say, a travel trailer. Okay, so I think the first prong is why don't we change that to allow residents that do have the ability to store some more trailers to get them off of the road
Where are they gonna put them?
in their neighbor's yard.
And wait a minute. You're
No.
are you? I'm trying to understand what you're saying.
I have a vacant lot.
Right.
I could put 3 trailers on it.
Okay.
I'm not allowed to do that. I'm only allowed 1.
All right. If you want to put them in your backyard, I don't have a problem with that.
Exactly. So what? Exactly. So what?
But this was
Because if somebody uses their neighboring backyard, who wants to sit out on their deck and look at a bunch of parked trailers?
you're missing the point. I wasn't here when you did that
No.
that ordinance.
Yeah, I wasn't either.
Okay, so you know somebody's laughing, saying, giggling when you're saying this.
But-
I'm
I mean, is it? We're getting down to with this. Is it? We want to increase our parking, or we just don't like trailers? Is it a war on trailers?
No, it's a thing where we have utility trailers that are loaded with junk that you know, and we've got people who are coming from other municipalities.
Okay.
And wait a minute.
I agree. What I'm
Wait a
saying
minute,
is,
are you going to let me explain? They're coming from other municipalities, parking their trailers here, leaving them here, and then going back to their homes, and then we're stuck with them.
I'm not disagreeing with that. I'm saying that there's multiple steps to this process.
Okay.
The first one is, I'm not going to allow somebody in Lower Sonera to park their trailer in my yard. Okay, I'm not.
All right.
Are you?
No.
Okay. Are
Better
you?
not.
No. Okay. So if you own property in the borough of Middletown, you're only legally allowed to store one trailer there. Okay. So I'm suggesting, why don't we allow more? And that is going to magically take some of these trailers. I'm not saying it's going to solve the problem.
Well, how many do you want to store on your property?
You know what? It's my property. I should be allowed to store as many as I want. You won't pay my taxes? You won't pay my mortgage?
Are you kidding?
Okay, then.
You want to pay my mortgage?
No, I don't. And I don't care what you do with your property.
I'm not.
I don't care.
I'll tell you what I'm not going to do.
Well, okay.
Store a trailer on my property.
That's
What
fine.
I don't understand is, all these other municipalities have this ordinance. Why is it such a problem for this town? That's what I don't understand.
Do
Well,
those same...
down the street, and you've got 5 or 6 trailers right in a row. Nobody can even park a car.
Yeah, well, you are right, and I agree with that, but most of these towns that you're talking about got driveways and big yards. And they're allowed to
I don't have a driveway, Jenny, honestly. But I wouldn't park a trailer in front of my house because I wouldn't want to own something that I'd have to go store either.
And you are correct, so you won't.
No.
But there is, I know one particular resident that has a lot that was storing 3 trailers on it, and the borough cited them for it, and guess where they put them? On the road. That to me is it's just like,
Look,
we have a parking problem. We know we have a parking problem, so what do? We shoot ourselves in the foot.
I have a buddy that lives down on Union Street. He had three boats in his backyard. Next thing you know, he had to put them all on the street. And it didn't make any sense because he was clean. He kept his yard pristine, and now he's got boats on the street where he didn't want them.
Okay, well, boats... I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say, again, thank you, Councilor Reed, for bringing this up. I don't know that we'll solve it here tonight at 9:30.
No, we won't.
But we have before us sort of 2 options. Maybe we would want to consider it and come back next time. If this is what I'm hearing, please, if you have another thought or if I'm not hearing it correctly, jump right in. But Ian and Pat have put forth what I would call small steps. I don't know how many people would be able to park all their, you know what I'm saying? Some, but how many? How many are from out of town? We don't know. Those would be small steps. The larger step would be what we've seen from other municipalities, which is you need to have a vehicle attached to your trailer. So I'm wondering if we need to decide, are we going to step into this, baby steps, see where it leads, or we're just going to go full board and go with, as other municipalities have?
Well,
it feels to me like we need to decide the impetus, the momentum that we want to put behind this. We know what our options are, and we have lots of ways to discuss it, but this council, I think, is going to have to decide how quickly are we going to move forward?
I propose one thing. I propose that Jim Diamond work with the big guy right there, the chief of police, and put some teeth to it and see what we can come up with. You willing to do that?
Yeah, we can. And you guys have already looked at the example. I mean, there's a series of pretty common patterns out there. And I mean, you do have trailers sitting out in some pretty dangerous, that, like out by the square and stuff. There had been some out there before. I know that. I don't know if they're still there now, but
we've got some that are registered in Oregon. I mean, come on, what? Me and you talked about that the other day.
Yeah, I'm not disagreeing with that. I know me personally, I won't support any or I won't support anything until I'm not going to create a problem without helping to create a solution. So if you are a resident, I'm not talking about Oregon people, okay? I'm talking about the people that I represent, Middletown Borough residents.
Right.
I'm not going to create them a problem of you now have to find a home for your 2 trailers without creating them a solution. I'm not creating a solution for the Lewisville Air people. That's their problem to figure out. But I need to create a solution for the constituents of Middletown. So I'm not going to get on board with any ordinance until, we look at allowing residents to fix some of their own problems. Because right now we're prohibiting them from taking stuff off the street. And that to me is just...
Right. So let's just take that moment. Are we interested in pursuing that?
I would support that as the first step into this endeavor.
Can we ask Jason, why is only 1 trailer allowed in your yard? Do you know? Do you know why that ordinance was written?
That was written in 2022, and I was just coming on board as that was being written, so I don't have the history.
Yeah, and I remember being here, but I don't remember why it was created.
I couldn't tell you either. I
Well,
mean, obviously he was here too,
Then
but
I think the 3 of you ought to work together to get that squared away and find out the answers to that, and then come back with something that makes sense.
Can I just, I'm Ian, I'm glad you brought that up, because I think that's dead on. Like, if we're gonna, because if we just do say, we're not gonna allow trailers, or you have to be hooked up, that's gonna be a big issue for a lot of our residents.
Right.
To try to figure out. And so I think that's super important to think about. Let's provide a solution so they can.
But the other thing that I'm concerned about is if, say you have a resident that's been an issue, and how do you explain? Jim, I'll explain it to you, and then maybe you can help me figure it out. And I'm not going to go into it right now, but I'm going to say it to you in executive session, and then you run it by the other 2 and see what we can get it done. That way, we're not here until midnight. But
so are we directing staff to come back to us and see what a permit program would mean for us? Are we that serious about it?
I think based on what he said, that's
I don't think you want to go down the permit road.
Can I talk about permits real quick? I think permits is going to create additional work
right
for us. The need potentially for additional hours or additional employees, the need for signs, the need for signs when you come into town, no trailers in Middletown unless permitted, potential signs on every block. I think either jump in with both feet or you keep things the way they are, obviously by coming up with a solution for it. I'm not sure permitting is, again, we're creating additional work for existing employees, and how much do you charge and how often do you charge, and
Okay.
I agree. Based on that information, I see that it doesn't make sense.
I threw some ideas. Like, I got an idea from another employee who wanted to remain anonymous. They also suggested you can do seasonal things, April through September, not to throw another rock in the mix.
That's interesting, though.
Hey, Chief, I got an invitation for you. Tell you guys to swing by my house on Labor Day. We got hamburgers for you.
Okay.
All right, good. What are you looking at me like that for?
Is there any other council comments? At this time, do I have general public comment? Seeing no...
No, I got one. Will you please do that traffic study on Mud Pike before somebody gets hit? I almost got hit twice now this month. I'm tired of it. If I gotta get hit, please let me get hit someplace else other than Mud Pike. Make it one way.
Come down Hoffer Street tonight around...
I'm gonna spank you.
I couldn't resist. Seeing no general public comment, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Amen. Good night.
Meeting adjourned.
Are you going to executive session?
Yeah, we're going to executive session.
Now you're gonna hit me.
Oh my
Do you have
God.
my pen?
Good times roll, man.
Pardon me?
Jim has something.
Jim, do you?
No.
Are we gonna talk about Felty?
What's that? Yeah, that's a minute, I think.
Oh, good.
Um,
A minute on Felty is
Hey,
good.
I did get, contacted by
Hey, I have a question.
email from, the Eastern